time sponsored by Accurist will be...
Time to get ugly!
Diverting late-night football conversation for prostitutes.
How dare you!
Chronic back pain sufferers.
Done the old back again.
And security guards who haven't quite nodded off yet. Wake up!
The Michaels, Graham and Parry on Talk Sport. For when two mics are better than one.
Look at the light!
Yeah, look into the light.
Which light?
Look at any light you like.
I take my shirt off in front of the kids and say, look at me, aren't I ugly? Aren't I fat and flabby? If you want to look like me, keep eating 4 packs of crisps a day, 2 chocolate bars, have a pizza after school, and you will look like me.
Yeah. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. A very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And I have to say, you have been a source of real mirth to me today.
Mirth?
Oh, incredible.
Well,
honestly.
I'm very happy to have made your life more happy then.
Honestly, I've been chuckling all day.
Why?
I really have.
On what basis?
Well, I mean, I don't wish to, I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that.
I certainly hope not.
But when I heard from first thing this morning, because I pick up on everything, because I've got antennae in my head that other people don't have.
You've got antennae in your head?
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Well, not sticking out the top of it?
Yeah, no. I just pick up on things.
Well, I'm glad to see you got something in your head.
Yes, exactly, yeah. I'm going to ignore that because I want the audience to share this tale with me.
All right.
And then I realised that the stumbling block in the Jose Mourinho deal are his image rights,
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's amazing that, because you and I are in the process of talking to various people about various things, signing contracts and all that kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, just imagine if you ever got into a situation where part of your income depended on your image rights.
Yes.
You would owe the company money, not the other way around.
Have you been up all night thinking about this?
No. I mean, your face is so gargantuan.
You see, this is where you don't understand the way the world works.
No. Your face is so... I'm not going to call you ugly, because that's a bit unfair.
Right.
But your face is gargantuan.
Have you looked in the mirror before you come out? Did you look in the Brad Pitt mirror before you came out?
It's out of shape. Yeah. You've got about 3 or 4 chins. Your hair is unruly. Looks like it's been dragged through a hedge.
I've just had it cut.
Well, nobody would know. Well,
that's the secret of getting your hair cut.
You wear those giant glasses to try and hide the rest of your ugly mug.
I like my glasses.
And you are repulsive in sort of any clear sort of view of your face.
Well, I'm not repulsive to everybody.
So I'm thinking
I'm not as repulsive to everybody as you are. Funny enough, we'll be talking to Lisa Daly about this later, because you haven't been near a woman for the best part of this century, I think, haven't you?
Well, the point is, mate, we're not talking about that. We're talking about image rights. And I think
we're talking about how people look, and I think you look far more repulsive than I do.
No, I think you would agree that I've got a much more sort of welcoming visage than you.
Not at all.
Mate, you have got...
You look like a tramp. You look like a tramp.
No, you've got a bombastic face.
You dress like a tramp.
You've got a bombastic face.
And you don't like people, so that's really why you haven't got any friends.
And the only image that you put over to people is one of revulsion,
Absolutely
really.
rubbish.
People look at you and want to throw up in the gutter.
No, they don't. No, that's not true.
I think they do.
No, I know that, you like to upset me.
Yeah.
You like to upset people from Southampton.
I'm not trying to upset
but as usual, you're working with a very, very thin grasp of the facts. Because the point about Jose Mourinho's image rights is not about pictures of his face.
Yes, well, it is. A lot of it's to do with that.
An awful lot of it is to do with the licensing of his name.
Yes, that's
right. An awful
right.
lot of it is to do with products that they would like to sell.
Who would want your name?
Well, I'm not trying to sell. I'm not trying to sell my name.
Mike Graham.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sell my name.
It's not exactly as exotic as Jose Mourinho.
It certainly isn't. Well, I mean, once again, are you comparing me to Jose Mourinho like you were claiming to compare Southampton to Hong Kong?
No.
Or Southampton to San Francisco?
No. I don't know why you're going off on these tangents. You're clearly embarrassed about the fact that I pointed out that your visage is one of the least attractive
maybe we should have a vote.
Works in the broadcasting world.
Maybe we should have a vote.
What do you want to vote for? You're always after these votes.
Let's get the public to declare whether they think you have a more ugly face than I do.
Well, I never used the word ugly.
Why don't we do that?
I never used the word
repulsive.
Repulsive, appealing and unappealing are the words I use.
Well, shall we say who has the most appealing face then?
No, the most appealing image, because it's about image rights.
No, you're talking about faces.
No,
you're trying to back out because you're going to lose the vote. Because you're as ugly as sin.
No.
You're older than I am. You're half dead, and you're a complete and utter maniac.
Oh, you see, you've got upset now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have got upset.
You've got upset,
yeah, because I'm not having you coming in here and completely ripping me apart.
I don't know why you're getting upset.
Without you getting sunbanned. Because you will get sunbanned. One of these days, you know what I'm going to do?
Well,
I'm going to crawl over this desk and I'm going to do a Martin Lipton on you. I'm going to say to you, I'm going to smack you in the face. Except Martin Lipton knew you would never do it because you're all mouth and no trousers. I am not all mouth and no trousers. And one day, I will knock you out.
Yeah, well, that say we'll wait for that to come, shall we? You see,
would you like to start the show again on a more pleasant note?
Listen, we didn't talk about face. I talked about image. And your
you're
image
trying to
is not a
backpedal
great
out of it
I'm
again.
not backpedaling out of anything.
You said I was repulsive.
Well,
you
you
said I
are.
was unattractive.
You are.
So let's make that the vote then. Shall we agree on what it should be?
Yeah, repulsive.
Which one of the two mics is more repulsive?
Yes, exactly.
Well, let's make
That's
that
fine.
the vote.
That's fine.
And then we'll put it at the top of the poll.
Yes.
And we will have the voting
That's
open.
great.
I think for the first hour of the show.
First hour of the show, please.
And then we will. We will collate the numbers afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent.
I totally agree.
Anyway, I'm very glad that I made you happy all day because clearly, something has to make you happy when you creep about on your Todd trying to find something to do with your 17 hours when you're not on the radio.
No, I've been very busy today.
Have you?
Honestly,
What have you been doing?
Sorting the world out.
What have you been doing? Paperwork?
Bit of paperwork, but basically sorting the world out and getting things done. Also, what can I tell you? Yeah, a major landmark today. First bird ever landed on my bird bath in the garden, which I was delighted about. Oh, I was thrilled. Honestly, that to me, that
bird you've seen for years.
Honestly, it was as big as, what can I say, the birth of your first child or something like that. You know what I mean? It was amazing.
The birth of your first child. How do you know how that feels?
I put so much.
You don't know how that feels.
I
know how that feels. I've had 4 children.
Oh, I know.
And they were all wonderful.
I know.
But the birth of my first child was a very special moment. The birth of every one of them was very special.
How long did it take you to abandon the first 2?
How do you mean?
First 2 children of yours.
What do you mean abandon?
Well, you lived in one country and they lived in another.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our marriage didn't work out. These things happen.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Why didn't the marriage work out?
Well, just because we grew apart, I would say.
No, you didn't apply yourself to the terms
Not true.
of
You know
your
nothing
wedding
about
vows.
all you know about marriage is breaking marriages up, mate. You know nothing about it.
So why
don't you stick to what you know about?
Well, I didn't break my own marriage up, did I?
No, but you tried breaking lots of other ones up, didn't you?
No. You see, you're going off again.
We're going to
wildly.
talk to Lisa Daly later because you know what? There is a new survey out which actually says that people, men in particular, who go out with married women as a general rule, their brains are wired completely differently.
Is that right?
So you must be one of them.
Well, my brain is definitely wired completely differently to most people. That's why I'm an exception to the rule of generality and normality.
Yes.
And averageness, and I'm not average. But look, I'm sorry I've upset you at the start of the show.
You have upset me.
You
have.
I don't know. I thought you could take these sort of things.
I can take it, but it doesn't mean you haven't upset me.
Well, I think you need...
I'm quite hurt by it, actually.
I think you need a thicker skin, to be honest.
I don't know why you would suddenly launch into an attack on me.
Can I
it's
say...
a shocking thing to do.
I know lots of expressions, most of them from Shakespearean text, and the one that you're illustrating now is a very clear one.
What's that?
The truth hurts.
Really? Well, what do you know about the truth? You've had a very, very loose relationship with the truth all your life. You're a liar. You're a compulsive liar. You don't know what the truth is.
And this is coming from a man who only, half an hour ago admitted live on air that you've been a perpetual thief.
That's not true.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you, well,
when did I say I was a perpetual thief?
Should we call up
when did I use the words perpetual thief?
The 2 presenters who were on this show.
When did I use the words perpetual thief?
Andy and Jason.
It's a lie. It's a lie. No, everything you say is a lie.
You admitted to being a petty thief, didn't you?
I did not admit to being a petty thief or a perpetual thief. No.
Chocolate?
No,
I said, a lot of chocolate?
When I was a kid, we used to steal things from the local shop,
Thieving. And you call me a thief? What have I ever stolen?
You've stolen stories, you've stolen ideas, you've stolen people's wives, you've stolen everything that you have, pretty much. Everything that you've got has been had by ill-gotten means.
Ill-gotten gains.
Ill-gotten gains.
I think you'll find the audience are going to get bored very quickly of your tirade of abuse against me, purely because...
Tirade of abuse?
Purely because...
Well, you started it, matey.
Purely because I made it clear that if you had to exist on payments for your image, right, you would owe your employer money, not the other way around, okay?
Let me put it to you this way.
That is true.
Let me put it to you this way. The initial voting so far, which of the 2 mics is the most repulsive? It's 71 to 29%.
In my favour.
You are the most repulsive, yes. Correct.
No.
Mike Parry is indeed the most repulsive. This is Talk Sport.
Excuse me.
He started off on some kind of, you're obviously trying to hide something, because whenever you start on something like this, you're hiding something.
It's an hour-long poll. It's an hour-long poll. That's on the initial burst of your supporters.
It's an hour-long poll.
Mine will come back. Vote Porky. Vote often.
Yeah, you see, you can't handle it. You're going to lose again. You are the most disgraceful human being I've ever had the misfortune to fall upon.
No,
this is Talk Sport.
The 2 mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Okay, I'm a cheerleader now. UGL5, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. Hey, you ugly. UGL5, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. Hey, you ugly. UGL5, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. Hey, you ugly. UGL5,
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Pardon me, my voice is slightly breaking up. I'm still suffering from that lurgy that you gave me a couple of weeks ago.
No, you're not. You've just got yourself into an emotional sort of
vortex.
not at all.
And I got upset with you. I don't think there's any reason why. I mean, people are amazed that I get upset with you more often. In fact, I get asked pretty much every day on Twitter. Yes. How is it you managed not to lamp that complete moron?
Well, I mean, resorting to violence, of course, is the resort.
This from the guy. Well, you threatened to punch Martin Lipton in the face, didn't you?
Well, Martin Lipton was being abusively
no, he wasn't. He was
cocky and arrogant to me.
He was laughing at the fact that you thought Jose Mourinho was going to go to Everton.
And to use the street vernacular, he was in my parish. This studio is more my domain than Martin Lipton's, who is a wordsmith of dubious quality. And I wasn't going to have him here trying to pull one over on me.
All right, then.
Simple as that.
Mary says this on Twitter. Sounds like Porky's had his pint of vinegar tonight. Billy says, definitely Porky is the most repulsive. We saw him at the garage in Glasgow last December. He looked like a right jakey, which is a great word.
What is a jakey?
A jakey is a tramp.
Oh, yeah?
Effectively.
Oh, yeah?
Todd says, go on, MG, do him. Johnny says, Porky's personality is repulsive. Old MG is a generally nice, easy-going guy.
Oh, really? Oh, that's the image you put over, yeah. What they mean is, you're so laid back, mate, you could be horizontal most of the time.
Well, I am horizontal most of the time.
Yeah.
Steve says Porky opens the show with a tirade of abuse, calls MG ugly, then attempts to take the moral high ground. Shocking behaviour.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but, I'm only stating the facts. Kenny can't really argue with that.
I'm glad Porky didn't have a gun in his hand tonight when he walked in. He's really on one. There's no need for that.
Well, you say that.
73% in favour of Porky being repulsive only a minute or two after posting, says Steve.
Well, that's just...
Here's one from somebody who's obviously got a clear mind.
Yes.
Roger says you're both equally repulsive.
Oh, that's very nice. What's his name?
Roger.
Ban him from listening.
No, not at all. I don't do that. You see, you're the one that can't take criticism. I get annoyed with criticism.
I don't mind
but
criticism.
I can take it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're catching up. It's 69-31 now.
Well, there you go. There you go. Come on, the Porky Army's fighting back.
Shocking attack from Porky there. He needs to look in the mirror and realise what a fat snob he is. I reckon he's jealous of MG.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed.
Tony says, why is Parry being such a mug?
So now you're encouraging people to send in abusive texts and tweets. Why do you encourage
I'm not encouraging them. These are what have come in.
You see.
Andy says, if I was your publicist, I'd be having a heart attack. Good work starting the show in full-on crisis mode.
Yeah. Sorry, what's that again? Publicist?
Your publicist, yes.
Yeah, why?
I'd be having a heart attack.
Why?
Well, presumably because, you're not a very saleable facial person either.
Well,
Richard says, just do it, MG. Smack the fat blob in his Mersey tunnel gob.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? There's some very violent people out there, I have to say.
Well, this is what happens when you start playing with fire. You shouldn't start something you can't finish.
All I said was,
everybody knows what you said.
In a light-hearted fashion, was that if you had to rely on your image to earn a living, as Jose Mourinho does for part of his vast wealth, then you would owe your employer money. That was a statement of fact. Nobody's going to pay you...
Well, actually, no, it wasn't a statement of fact. Once again, you've got that completely wrong, like you got everything else wrong. That was not a statement of fact. That was a statement of supposition and made-up nonsense by you.
Nobody is going to pay you for your looks. Just get that into your head,
and
Mike,
you think
and
people are going
to
pay you for your looks?
Well, I never claimed
they pay you to go
will.
away. They pay you to stop hanging around outside the kebab shop. You're scaring off the customers.
Oh, I've never been in a kebab shop.
No,
in
I know,
life.
but you stand outside looking in, though.
Don't be ridiculous.
You said that. You told me you stood outside looking in at the kebab shop.
Why would I do that?
Well, I've no idea why you do most of the things you do.
No, I don't.
I've no idea why you go to Wetherspoons on your own and eat 2 portions of fish and chips and have 7 bottles of Pinot Grigio. I have no idea what your life is like.
I like fish and chips, especially the ones done at Wetherspoons. They're very, very nice.
Have you found out which ones they're shutting down yet, by the way?
Well, none of the ones that I use, because I only use the high-quality ones, you see.
Of course.
The ones
probably
that
the top Wetherspoons of the southeast of England.
Yeah, I would say so. Right. Yeah, I would say so. Now, listen, we need to be talking about real issues here.
We do.
And one of them is that Sturridge could be out of the Euro Championships altogether.
It was always a worry, wasn't it?
Well,
with
you see,
Sturridge.
Now, you see, this is interesting, because to me, this brings in the contrast between Sturridge and his problems trying to keep fit, and Jack Wilshere, who has come back from prolonged non-fitness. Already, there's question mark over Sturridge, should be taken because he's prone to injury.
Yes.
Hang on, the man who is most prone to injury in that squad is Wilshere.
Yeah.
So if you're going to dump Sturridge and take Wilshere, what an imbalanced way of thinking that is.
Very true. But I mean, surely they won't dump Sturridge on the basis that the injury won't repair, but they'll dump him because they feel the injury is too serious that he won't be able to play at all.
Well, I don't think they know the extent of the injury yet. Daniel Sturridge is in serious danger of missing the England. Liverpool strike did not train with England yesterday after complaining of calf trouble. Latest problem makes him a major doubt. Played just 58 minutes of football for England since September. none of that really adds up to, he's got a bad injury.
No.
He's got a pull in training.
Right.
And everybody, including, some of our colleagues in our business, seem to be creating a crisis here, which I'm not sure exists.
Well, I mean, he is very prone to injury. Daniel Sturridge, as you know.
So is Jack Wilshere.
I know he is. But, I mean, Sturridge has missed an awful lot of football this year. Jack Wilshere's hardly played any at all.
Well, that's right.
And we've already remarked on how weird it is that Hodgson would not take certain players because they haven't played much, and then take Jack Wilshere who hasn't played at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Very strange indeed.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be at all surprised to find that Jack Wilshere gets to France and then gets injured, would you?
Oh, no, I wouldn't be surprised one little bit. In fact, I tell you, if he gets to France and lines up for the first game, the risk is he won't complete 90 minutes in that game.
Right.
Maybe not because he's going to get an injury during the game, but he will be, to use the vernacular that professionals use, he'll be blowing on 70 minutes.
Blowing?
Yeah.
Is that what they say?
That's what they say,
How do you know that?
What do you mean?
Well, how do you know what professionals say?
Because I mix amongst them.
Do you?
And remember, I was the Director of Communications of the Football Association, so
yes.
I know football vernacular inside out.
Sure it's
okay?
not gassing that they say?
No, blowing, okay?
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
All right. That's not. I thought that was something else.
No. That's when you're gasping for air in your lungs because actually your stamina levels have.
Well, that's how
have
you are
shrunk.
most of the time, isn't it?
No.
Blowing.
No, I'm not. No.
Well, only 1/3 of your heart works.
Hang on, one of these days we're going to have this walking race that we're going to have, right? The 2-mile walking race, okay?
Well, no, we're not going to have a walking race.
Yes, we are,
No,
because
why?
I want to prove to you that despite the fact...
prove to me there's nothing wrong with you mean?
Despite the fact that only 1/3 of my heart works, I managed to keep myself in such good shape.
Oh, yeah.
When was the last time you had an alcoholic drink?
When was the last time?
Yeah.
This afternoon.
At what time?
It was about 5 o'clock.
And how many drinks was that one?
I had about 3 or 4 pints, I think.
3 or 4 on a working day?
Yeah.
You see, I just can't believe you can admit
You
to that.
You can't believe I can admit to it because I tell the truth.
I haven't had a drink since Saturday.
Well, that's what you tell me, but I don't believe a word you say, you see, because you are a born liar. You're a compulsive liar. You told me you didn't have a drink since a week ago.
That's right.
And it turns out that you forgot about the beers that you had at the weekend.
Well, they were just a couple of beers.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's a drink.
Sorry?
So that's a drink.
Well, technically it's a drink, but it's not a drink in my vernacular.
What, you mean you didn't get bladdered?
Well, it's not drink.
That's the way you see drinking, isn't it?
I see...
Because you are, to all intents and purposes, a functioning alcoholic.
No, I see refreshment in the form of a pint of beer or lager as part of rehydration,
Right.
the rehydration
Well,
process of the human body.
The police don't see it like that.
Well, the police got to do with it.
Well, if you take a couple of rehydrational pints,
Yes.
get in the car, you're over the limit and you shouldn't be driving.
Well, I don't do that.
Well, exactly. But what I'm saying is...
So why would you bring that up?
Because the law dictates that if you drink... you can't drive a car. So for you to say it's not drinking is incorrect.
What are you telling me this for? I never take my car if I go drinking.
I'm not talking about whether you drive or not. I'm saying that you can't say that doesn't involve
You're
drinking.
getting very confused tonight,
No, I'm not getting confused at all. I'm being very straightforward.
How much did you have to drink this afternoon?
You're saying you can have 2 pints of beer and it's not drinking. I'm saying if you have 2 pints of beer and get in a car, it's considered to be drinking.
If I had 2 pints of beer, I wouldn't get in a car.
Well, that's not the issue. The issue is...
No, it is the issue.
2 pints of beer is drinking.
No.
It puts you over the limit. Therefore, it's drinking.
Well, it's a very, very confusing analogy, that, and I'm not sure why you're there.
I don't know why you're so confused. You had any sleep today?
Sorry?
Have you had any sleep?
Yes, I've had some
How many
sleep.
hours sleep have you had?
Well, it doesn't matter. I was sleeping
Doesn't
probably
matter.
when you were out drinking.
Well, I was answering your questions, but you weren't answering mine.
I'm answering the questions.
Well, how many hours sleep did you have?
Maybe 3.
3 hours sleep.
Yes,
In
something like
24 hours.
Yes.
And you wonder why you're confused.
No, I'm not confused. You are.
No, I'm very clear.
Who
actually.
are you drinking with this afternoon? Why do you
was
find
drinking-
it necessary on a working day to go out and drink?
I was drinking with one of the bosses from Talk Sport, actually.
Oh, I see. Oh, it was a bit of that, was it?
Yeah, it was.
A bit of that. I don't suppose he was renegotiating your contract to give you image rights, was he?
No, he wasn't actually. But we were renegotiating some of yours, though.
Didn't think he would be.
We were renegotiating some of yours, though.
Well, you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to my agent about that one.
Your agent?
Yes.
Who's
that's
your
right,
agent?
yeah. Well, I haven't got one actually, but I don't need one.
More lies.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now then, these...
Now, I've got this here, from Matt. He says, by the way, can you give a shout-out to Bristol Rugby for getting promoted at last? Now, I know you have a thing about Bristol.
Who's this?
Bristol Rugby have been promoted back into the Premiership.
Sorry, they're a rugby team.
Yes, they are a rugby team.
Right, okay, yeah.
The Aviva Premiership. You've heard of that, right?
Yeah,
You
right,
used to be the
okay,
rugby
yeah.
correspondent for
Yeah, but they're not
Talksport.
the biggest team around there. Bath are.
Yeah, Bath are a big team, but
Yeah.
Bristol have just been promoted back into the Premiership,
Yeah,
so
then-
it's a reason to be excited for
Yeah,
them.
but they're a bit of a nondescript rugby club, aren't they?
Well, I
Bristol?
wouldn't say nondescript. They're in the Premiership now, so they're in the top
Anybody
division.
famous ever played for them?
Oh, I'm not sure.
No, exactly.
I'm not an expert on rugby.
I know Bath are a big team.
Bath have been in their time.
I keep reading about Bath
Yeah.
getting, honours and that kind of stuff.
Well,
okay?
they're quite wealthy, Bath, actually.
The trouble with Bristol is they can't succeed in any sport at all because they're too diverse. The seventh biggest city in this country, Bristol, should have one decent football team and one poor football team.
Yes.
Instead of which
Bit
they...
like Liverpool.
No, not like Liverpool at all.
Well, they've got one decent team and one poor team.
No, they haven't. They've got two massive clubs, and they've got Tranmere Rovers on the other side of the River Mersey. But the trouble with Bristol is they have, instead of having one really good team and then one average team or one poor team, they've got two dreadful teams.
Well, they're not dreadful because they did not both get sort of lumped up the last time. One of them certainly came up, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think in total, they're two teams which have been around for a combined 250 years, have spent one season in the top flight.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just a joke.
Yeah, but it's not a joke.
It's a
because
joke.
football is not just about the Premier League. It's not just about the top flight, is it?
Well,
I mean, look at Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez has agreed to take the job at Newcastle. This is a guy who used to be the manager at the beginning of last season of Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Yes.
And he's now going to be working in the Championship. What does that tell you?
I bet it's costing Mr. Ashley an awful lot of money.
Well, it may be, but it tells
you
you that there's a lot more to English football than just the Premier League.
I've just seen an image of Lewis Hamilton on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
A monitor that we have in this studio.
One of the internal monitors.
Yeah. And that's because the Monaco Grand Prix is coming up, okay?
It is, yes.
And you're trying to tell me that, Formula One motor racing is not just about Lewis Hamilton. What about Formula 3? What about people who go around in go-karts?
Well, where do you think Max Verstappen came from?
They came from that world.
That's right.
But they got to the top, and that's what everybody's interested in, the people at the top.
No.
People aren't interested in Bristol Rovers or Bristol City.
Yes, they are.
Because they're average.
Are you on some kind of a mission to make everybody hate you tonight?
No. Nobody hates me. I'm just talking the truth.
Well,
people like it direct. People like it between the eyes.
Micah says this. I'll give it to you between the eyes in a minute. Mike G, I think Porky's medication needs adjusting following his offensive rant. Please contact Dr. Banner.
Well, there's no need.
Jack says, when I think of a description of Mr. Parry, it is repugnant.
What?
Why don't you just clump him, MG?
I don't know.
This is the kind of
I don't know what's wrong with these people.
This is the kind of reaction you engender.
I have no idea why.
Because you're a ghastly individual.
No, well,
This is Talk Sport.
It's very unkind, a bit harsh.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Time to get ugly. Should be a crime to be that ugly. She's a real ugly neighbour. You, ugliest in the world. Gee, you know I don't remember. So won't somebody tell me why? Should be a crime to be that ugly.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, and of course it's Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on tonight. There's another game, basketball coming up tonight, Game 5, Toronto versus Cleveland.
Right.
So I know you'll be keen to me to keep you updated on that. Alex has sent a tweet in saying, "Hi guys, can you say happy birthday to my beautiful wife Eden? We are in San Diego celebrating her big 50th.
Right.
So why don't you say happy birthday?
What's the lady's name?
Eden.
E-D-E-N?
Yes. I think we've previously congratulated this couple on a wedding anniversary.
Oh, OK. Well, Eden, 50th birthday. Congratulations. Where are you? San Diego. Brilliant part of the world and the West Coast HQ of the US Navy. So you'll see plenty of big, bold sailors around there. Not that you'll be looking for them because, of course, you're with your husband on your 50th birthday.
Exactly right, yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Big, bold sailors.
Yeah.
Look out for them. Red
Yeah.
Les says there's only one team in the West Country, and that's the Exeter Chiefs.
Exeter Chiefs, eh? Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
Exeter Chiefs. Now, hang on. Is that... Which sport is that?
Well, I presume it's rugby union. I
no,
don't know.
it's ice hockey, isn't it?
I don't know.
Exeter Chiefs.
I've never heard of the
I
Exeter
think it
Chiefs.
is, yeah. Anyway, listen, that music we just played.
Yes.
Who was that?
I don't know.
I think it's Beastie Boys, wasn't it? Was it Beastie Boys?
No, it was Pop Will Eat Itself, actually.
It was what?
Pop Will Eat Itself.
What's
which
that?
was a band that was sort of famous a few years back.
Really? Why did we play that?
Because there's a song called Ugly. Because we're having currently a vote.
Oh, I
on who's more
see,
ugly.
I see.
Would you like
Okay,
to know
yeah.
what the voting process is? 'Cause
Yes,
we're
please, I would, yeah.
27 minutes away from the vote shutting down.
Yes.
And it says 67% you,
Yeah.
and 33% me.
Okay,
And the question
so-
is, which of the two mics is the most repulsive?
Yes, okay. Well,
So you're winning.
yeah, I
Might be
hope,
the first thing you've ever won.
I would like the Porky Army to get mobilised, please. We only got 27 minutes
I don't
to
think
do
they
it.
work that fast, do they?
Oh, I think they do. And we can prove that there is the...
These
what
are,
I
all,
call,
these are all the people who you told only about, a week ago to
Yeah.
desist from being horrible and making
Yeah.
nasty and abusive comments about
Yeah.
me.
But look, Mike-
But you've now gone on and done exactly the same.
I'm a student of politics as well as, knowledgeable in many other aspects of life, okay?
Is that right?
And I happen to know that a thing called the silent majority is what really matters.
Really?
It doesn't matter how many votes you have, where people put their head above the parapet.
So winning elections is not important.
Eh?
Winning elections is not
Winning
important.
elections is important, but the silent majority win elections. Nobody knew that the David Cameron was going to get a majority at the last election.
No,
because
there was one pollster apparently, but nobody believed him.
Yeah, but I knew.
You knew? Well, you didn't say so.
I did, because I...
When did you say so?
Well, I wasn't allowed to, was I? Because they
you
have
weren't allowed
certainly
to.
broadcasting
Well,
rules before elections.
No, but you didn't say it off radio either.
I did tell a certain number of
Well, you didn't tell me.
chosen people. Well, I didn't tell you.
Who'd you tell?
Because I thought you might go around telling other people.
Who'd you tell?
I
you're the
told
one that steals everybody else's ideas.
No, I told those who need to know, and I knew the silent majority
Really?
was probably going to vote that way.
Oh, okay.
As as I have my views on other votes.
Do you want to tell me who's going to win the US presidential election then, so that you can tell me when whoever wins it, you can say I told you that?
That's a more complicated equation,
Oh, is it?
actually, and you can't come out with a straight answer just yet.
Okay.
But I'm monitoring things.
All right.
Now, I tell you what I want to talk to you about, right?
What?
I want to talk to you about the fact that I'm very glad that I'm not French at the moment, or driving around France.
Yeah.
Because
I'm
if I
sure
was
the French are very glad as well.
Yeah, because if I was driving around France, I'd actually have my car on the roadside without any petrol in it.
That's right.
Because once again...
There's a fuel strike, isn't there?
Yeah, once again, the French have decided, tout à l'heure, sacre bleu.
Yes.
And they basically don't want to work.
No.
Because they don't like working.
Well, I think it's not that they don't like working. I think they just like going on strike. They seem to take an inordinate amount of pleasure out of setting up a barricade of
they
tyres
do,
and setting fire
to them. That's right, yeah. Well,
I mean, here we have the doctors on strike, and occasionally people honk a horn, and
Yeah.
people wave, and,
Well, firemen stand outside fire stations and say, honk if you're supporting us. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, in France, there's plumes of black, acrid, disgusting smoke
all
going
over
into
the
air.
place, yeah.
It's amazing.
And do you know how long a tyre burns when you set fire to it?
Quite a long time,
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, 5 years. You can't put it out.
Really?
No, you can't. You have to throw them into a
Well, they're not going to burn for 5 years on the road, are they?
No, they shovel them away, but they keep burning for 5 years.
Really? I'm sure that's right.
I'm telling you, there is an underground fire of tens of thousands of tyres somewhere in the Midlands, which has been burning for 30 years.
Somewhere in the Midlands?
Yeah, it's true. It's still
Why
burning.
don't they put it out?
They can't. You can't put out burning tyres.
Right. Well, how many tyres are you talking about?
About 10,000.
Oh, right.
And it was a dump.
Well, whose idea was that?
What it was they were discarded tyres, because in the old days, tyres wore down very quickly and you threw them away.
Right.
So this, scrap metal dealer type guy started a tyre yard, okay? And it got too big, so he went and rented a pit, and he put them all in this pit.
Right.
And then somebody set fire to them for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
They thought that was a good way of getting rid of them. And then
That's a mistake.
It was a mistake. And they're still burning 30 years later, and they have to fill the pit in. Yeah, I know. Anyway, look, the point of the story is this. France is the sort of place where the French, who are nice people, and the women are very attractive.
The women?
Yes.
Why do you have to say the women are very attractive?
Because I'm heterosexual and I'm attracted to women. So if they have...
it's a very sweeping statement. I mean, you can't say that one country's women are all very attractive.
I think the architecture of Paris is beautiful.
Do you?
I love the way of life.
What's your favourite building?
My favourite building in Paris?
Yeah.
I think it would be Notre Dame.
Really?
Yes, I think so,
Okay.
yeah. And also, I believe
Have you been in there? Been inside?
Well, it's on an island.
Yeah, I know.
You have to go over on a boat to it.
No, you don't. You walk across a bridge.
That's right, and a bridge. There's a bridge on one side and a boat on the other. That's
You
right.
don't need a boat to get onto Notre Dame.
Well, I fancy a boat on the Seine, you see. I think it's quite
Do you?
romantic. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, listen, what I was going to say to you was this latest strike, you know, and they'll strike about anything, as you well know. The strike of the colour of butter is
well,
the
I mean, the
wrong colour
ferry
and all that kind of
ferry
stuff.
people will go on strike soon,
Yeah,
won't they?
ferry, and the air traffic controllers are always going on strike.
I think they've already had a couple this year.
Yeah, that's what happens in France. In France, they believe that they're owed a living. They're not quite sure you should be paying for it. It's a bit like Greece, I suppose.
Yeah.
But they do believe that they're owed a
Well,
living.
nobody can really work out how countries like France actually make any money.
Do you know, when you go there, Mike, you see all these elegant people on the Champs-Elysees, and you see them sitting in cocktail bars and hotel bars, sipping cocktail, and they're dressed beautifully in clothes with leather shoes and all this kind of stuff. And you think, how have they made this money to be able to afford this
a lot of
lifestyle?
Europe is like that, though. I find whenever I go to anywhere in Europe, they seem to have a much more sort of relaxed way of life.
Italy's the same.
And they have nice things, they have nice houses, they have nice cars, they don't work like maniacs like we do.
Yeah.
Although, did you see that story that said that British people in London only work something like 33 hours a week?
This is what I'm about to tell you, see. So I go and get this survey, and it says this. If you want a nicer lifestyle, get a job in Paris.
Yeah.
It said, for millions of workers struggling to get through gruelling days at work and a long commute each way, a solution may be at hand. Move to Paris.
Yeah.
It has been ranked as the city with the shortest working day in the whole of the industrialised world.
In Paris?
In Paris,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they don't work at all on a Monday, do they?
I don't know. A study of 71 cities by UBS, who are a massive financial services company in America, suggested that workers in Paris were required to clock in for an average of just 30 hours and 50 minutes a week, OK?
Right.
6 hours and 10 minutes a day.
Right.
6 hours and 10 minutes a day.
That's excluding sort of lunch breaks and things.
Well, I suppose that's actual working time.
Petit déjeuner.
Yeah, workers in Lyon...
Yeah.
Lyon.
Lovely place, Lyon.
Yeah, had the second shortest week of 31 hours and 22 minutes.
Yeah.
But the shortest is Paris, 30 hours and 50, right?
Right.
The survey, which questioned 15 professions, from nurses to bankers, suggested that London's 33.5-hour working week was the 17th shortest.
Right. That's quite short as well, isn't it?
I think it is.
I mean,
yeah.
not that we could... I mean, you work all the time, but I mean, my working
Yes.
week isn't particularly long, I'd have to say.
Yeah, but it's intense.
It is intense.
You're into talking for 5 hours, that actually can do you in.
It can. Well, especially talking to you.
Yeah, well, that's
By the
right,
way,
that's
look
true.
what I've just discovered. Somebody has sent this in, right?
Yeah.
His name is Mark.
Okay, hello,
and
Mark,
He sent in a
yes.
tweet from a mate of his called Scott.
Oh, yes, Scott. Hello, Scott.
Mark
Yeah.
says, I think Mr. Parry may have stolen this from yesterday.
Yeah.
Who's the thief, he says. And the tweet that he's referring to is from Scott, which was sent yesterday at around about 20 to 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, it's just as well Porky doesn't have image rights in his contract. He would owe TalkSport money every year.
Really?
Yeah. So you must have read that and then decided
I've not
to
read
turn
that.
it into something
No,
about me.
No, I can promise you I've not read that.
Well, it's addressed to you.
Well, I haven't read it, honestly.
You haven't read it?
No, I try to read all the stuff that comes to me, but I can promise you I have never seen that one, and if I had, I would have reacted quite violently, I
Would
suppose.
you?
Anyway, listen, let me just go on here.
Go on.
Now, those who feel there are not enough hours in the day should avoid Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Where workers put in an average of 50 hours a week.
50?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Which is more than the European directive, isn't it? 'Cause you're not meant to work more than 48.
Yeah, but Hong Kong's not in Europe, actually.
I get that.
Yeah.
No,
So-
it was just a point of
Yeah.
fact.
So imagine if in Hong Kong you had a job from Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
You'd be working 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't include your lunch hour.
Right.
So that would be 11 hours a day if you
Well,
had a
when I
lunch
was in
hour.
newspapers and when you were as well,
Yeah, yeah.
we worked far longer hours than we
much?
do now.
Oh, yeah. I
mean,
used to
would-
get in at 7:30
you'd
and
get
leave
in
at about,
Probably about 7:30 as well. That's 12
yeah,
hours.
but you'd only go to the bar then, which is downstairs, and hang around for 2 hours in case anything went
Yeah,
wrong
but
in the
actually
first edition.
physically in the office,
Physically in the office, about 12 hours.
12-hour days were not unusual.
And 6-day weeks were not unusual
Yeah.
either. No,
Yeah.
I could easily work 75 hours a week. But anyway, UBS said that the average of the 71 cities was 36 hours and 23 minutes,
Yes.
OK? So that, again, I don't think is very long. It's no wonder the world's going bankrupt. There's too many lazy people on the planet who don't do enough work.
Well, I
Don't
don't
you
think.
think?
No, I don't agree. I think we work too much in this country, and I think we should work less.
Here, listen to this. Listen to this. These French people, when asked why they're so damned lazy, said that,
Who asked them that?
well, UBS, the people who did the survey, the French workers said, look, we might spend less time in the office, but we are very productive, much more productive than the Britons.
Well, I don't think
agree with that.
UBS. I don't think UBS have got any right to take the moral high ground,
I
given
don't
some of the
agree with
history
that.
of their company's rather dodgy dealings in Switzerland.
Oh, we can't say that.
Yeah, we can.
No, we can't.
we can. I mean, the American
Well, I'm not
tax,
saying
the
that.
American
It wasn't
tax,
me. It wasn't
the American
me.
tax authorities have been all over the Swiss banks for years, making sure that they pay the money they owe. Now, a couple of points of information before we disappear. Steve says Exeter Chiefs are in the final of the Premiership against Saracens on Saturday.
Oh, that's rugby.
Bath haven't won anything for over 20 years.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, I told you they were a rugby team. You said they were an ice hockey team.
No, I didn't know.
And finally, Ian in Rossendale. Morning, MG. I'm not an advocate of violence, but I'm willing to make an exception on this occasion. So what you need to do is stand up, walk 2 yards, and spark Porky out.
Yeah, that's very nice, isn't it?
This
Thank
is
you.
Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
And we're winning, and we're winning, and we're headed for the heartbreak, headed for the blues.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, and of course, it's Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on. As I've said often, the best TV review this side of French Polynesia,
Yes.
which I'm delighted to say is still called French Polynesia.
Indeed.
Now, we've got a lot of football stories to talk about, but we've got
Yep.
Mark Donaldson here as well.
Excellent.
Because I want to ask him about Andy Murray.
Oh, I think
in
so.
his capacity as a tennis aficionado.
Yeah.
He can tell us why everyone seems to be saying Andy Murray is lost. He doesn't have a coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's taken 10 sets to get through to the third round.
Yeah,
of the
but he's
French
still
Open.
winning.
Well, he's still winning,
Yeah.
but, you know, with an awful lot of energy espoused. Mark, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you both?
Very well indeed, mate. Very well indeed.
Very well indeed.
Good to
now,
hear from you.
what's up with Andy Murray? I think that's the obvious first question.
you know what? You're asking me that question, and someone asked Andy Murray that question today, and he said he didn't know. So if he doesn't know, I'll have the answer.
Right. Well, what do you think it could be? I mean, obviously, whenever he's kind of in between coaches, he seems to be a little less focused. It seems to me, but to take 5 sets, particularly in the second round match against a guy who's 164 in the world, it just seems mad, doesn't it?
Yeah, a guy who'd never played more than 3 sets before and doesn't even have a bio on the ATP Tour. It's a weird one because he looked so good in Rome when he was successful. And it's strange because he goes from the kind of... he beat Djokovic and looked phenomenal.
Right.
And then his first 2 games against Stepanek, especially in his first-round match, you're thinking, this is a wily old fox. And he's had 1 or 2 problems with Stepanek before, but why are you having issues right now? I mean, as Porky was saying, the fact that he's through to the third round is the good thing. He's been on court for over 7 hours, although it's been over 3 days. So, I mean, there was a player today, Nick Kyrgios, who's a possible opponent for Andy in that half. He was off court in, I think, an hour and 20 minutes when he beat Igor Sieveling. So he's a lot fresher. Andy's one of the fittest guys out there, but you don't want to be playing 7.5 hours, 2 rounds.
No, but the fact is, his resilience has so impressed me, because when you go 2 sets down in any match, you need to triple your mental strength to get out of a situation like that, and he's done it twice.
You do.
And he's in terrific. Now, the other thing, Mark, because you cover sports right across the spectrum, do you know what I was thinking? I was thinking after the fact that he's been on court for 3 consecutive days, right? Do you know, we always hear these footballers complain about, you can't play 3 games in 8 days. If a footballer played 3 games in 8 days, he'd be playing for 6 hours in 8 days. Andy Murray, as you quite rightly say, has played 7 hours in 3 days. So he is the fittest man in sport, isn't he?
He's certainly one of them. And different fitness for different sports. I mean, you ask an athlete to sprint against someone else and they're going to win, but you ask an athlete to do a different physical aspect and fitness against a tennis player, it's different fitness. I mean, with Murray, he would have been out on the court today anyway, or yesterday, sorry, because he would have been practicing. So sure. I don't think it's too much of an issue that he's been out, but he's certainly expended more energy than possibly he should have done. I just think that the section of the draw that he's in, there's some tough ones in there. Nishikori's in there, Kyrgios, Gasquet's in there as well. I mean, so next up, he's going to face Ivo Karlovic, and I think that could be a quick 3-setter because Karlovic isn't a good mover on clay. He served over 40 aces today in his victory over Jordan Thompson. Murray is one of the best returners. I don't have an issue with Murray against Karlovic. Then it could be Isner. Again, similar. Tall player, isn't the best mover, but gets around better than Karlovic. So I think you're going to see Andy Murray through to the quarterfinals. Then it gets tough. It could be Nishikori. He's got plenty others. He could have Wawrinka as well. So if you're asking me, do I want 9-2 on Murray or do I want 5-1 on Nadal? What's better value?
Well, that's right.
Nadal would get my money right now, not Murray.
But the situation with Murray, of course, now is goes beyond the French Open, doesn't it? Because we know that Murray's capable of winning Grand Slam tournaments. He's already won 2. He won a gold medal at the Olympics. You know, the problem for Murray is all between his ears, isn't it? And he needs to find somebody who can make him a better player in his head rather than actually on the court.
I'll tell you a quick story. The US Open, ESPN, who cover the event, have you'll see when you watch tennis, there's the kind of pits where the photographers go. At the other end from where the photographer's pit is at the US Open at Flushing Meadows, there's the ESPN camera position. So I was fortunate enough last year to get there, and you're literally 2-3 meters away from the players when they're hitting the ball. He's got demons. I mean, he talks to himself, he mutters to himself. He's like, why didn't you say something to his coach? When of course they can't do something.
Right.
But there is the argument that is part of Andy Murray, and that helps him. That's why he beat Djokovic to win the US Open. That's why he won Wimbledon. That's why he won the gold medal. So it's a difficult one to say, well, if he doesn't do that. Because I think, by the way, the first 2 sets today, or yesterday, your time, against the French lad Berg, he wasn't really speaking to himself. He wasn't really talking to himself. He wasn't getting angry with himself. So maybe that is something, maybe that's a trigger that inspires him.
Mm-hmm, indeed. Now, Mark, just moving on a bit, mate, because time is short here and it's always valuable to have you on the show.
And we've also got to count up the votes on that, who's the most repulsive out of you and I.
That'll be later.
Yeah.
Mark, in this country, we're all staggering around, amazed that one of the stumbling blocks for the Jose Mourinho contract is his image rights, divided between Chelsea and Manchester United. Presumably, that's something that most US sportsmen earning $10, $20, $30 million a year have got sorted.
Yeah, and it's embarrassing for Manchester United. This should have been done kind of well in advance. But if they knew they were going for Mourinho, I think the world did, so why wouldn't they put... I mean, it's not as if someone suddenly said to Man United, by the way, Chelsea own the image rights. There's a Sambuca in Italy with Jose Mourinho's name on it. Chelsea
we should get a bottle of that.
See this story? Chelsea, your bladderization would go through the roof if you ended up on that, boys.
Right. Yeah, certainly would.
Well, I've seen a list, and I've seen a list, Mark, and I don't know how genuine the list is, but I mean, there's hundreds of things on it, from all sorts of skin creams to food stuffs to drink. You know, it's an incredible list.
Chelsea have done it twice, by the way. They did it the first time. This isn't something you get and it lasts forever. This is something you get and it's a certain period of time, the kind of image rights that you buy. It's certainly what I was reading today. So they had to, when he went back to Stamford Bridge, they had to renew that.
Yes.
And they've renewed it for a certain period of time that is still ongoing. So that's the issue United have got right now.
Yeah, and further to that, Mark, old MG tonight has taken real umbrage and got into a terrible paddy in a bad mood because I suggested to him if he lived off image rights, he would owe his employer, not the other way around. Because let's face it, his image, and you should know this because you work in the lucrative American market, his image is that of a Tin Pan Alley cat with no morals, and he won't accept it.
But you know the difference over here, and something I've kind of found.
Yeah.
Self-publicity over here is huge, and I think Mr. Graham, having lived over here, and he was over here at the weekend in Connecticut. Thanks for the invite down, Mike.
No worries.
He knows all about the American way of life and self-publicity. I don't think British people in general are as comfortable with regards to self-publicity as Americans.
I agree with that.
Well, Wayne Rooney's quite comfortable with it. He gets a bucket load of money out of Manchester United for his image rights. But your problem is you don't understand what the image rights words mean. You think it involves a picture of somebody.
No,
it doesn't.
I don't.
It just means the licensing of their name, and that's what Mark's talking about.
Yeah, exactly, and I know all about that. But you have to admit, Mark, well, we all have to admit, that the biggest image which is related to David Beckham's image rights is his face, because he's David Beckham.
I don't know. It could be his underpants.
Oh, well, OK, so that part of his body, but they don't usually show it in isolation. They usually show him wearing a pair of underpants and his face at the same time.
But I mean, but you buy David Beckham aftershave. He doesn't have his face on it. You buy David Beckham...
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
Of course it does.
No, have you seen a bottle of David Beckham aftershave?
Have you seen an advert for David Beckham aftershave?
Yeah, but,
it's got his face in it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when you buy it in the shop.
When you buy it in the shop, it's in a little bottle. There's not room for his face on it, you idiot.
No, there's room for his face. There's not room for your face.
When you buy a tin of Heinz baked beans, is there a picture of Mr. Heinz on it? Of course there isn't, you fool.
Who is Mr. Heinz?
Hey?
Who is he?
He was the guy who invented Heinz baked beans.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry,
quite
Mark.
a long time ago.
Sorry, Mark, about this. See what I have to put up with.
I was just going to ask. I was going to ask what would be more lucrative. An eau de toilette or an aftershave with Mike Parry's face in it or Mike Graham's face on it?
Well, that's a very good question.
What I can tell you at the moment, Mark, and you may wish to vote if you on Twitter if you want. It's pinned to the top of our Twitter.
Yes.
Which of the two Mikes is the most repulsive? The answer so far, with 354 votes cast, Mike Parry, 68%. It's the first thing he's won by a landslide in many a year.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, Mark, I'm aware of the silent majority, and I am the friend of the silent majority, so I don't take much notice of these polls.
I've actually got a good idea for something. You could market. You know, what we could do is put together like a pack of cards with your face on it, and you could call it Mike Parry's Pack of Lies.
He's just thought that one up. Yeah.
I just want you to make this world tour of Great Britain into an actual world tour. I think the two of you should go over here because I'd love to see how you two would be received in this country.
You know, we're coming to the old country. We're going to do the Edinburgh Festival this year as well. So if you happen to be in Edinburgh at the end of August, you can come and see us there.
Indeed.
That was my favourite time of the year, and obviously the way that the segment obviously works is the blatant and obvious book plug, which is in September. So I may be over in August.
Excellent.
To catch
Brilliant.
you guys at the festival before the book launch in September.
Brilliant. Be great to see you.
Tremendous stuff. Well, Mark, listen, one final, just quick question. Were you surprised by Rafa Benitez staying at Newcastle?
No, because I think he wouldn't have joined if he didn't believe that this was a job worth doing. And I noticed a poll on Twitter today. Would you rather take 5-2 on Newcastle to win the championship under Benitez, or would you rather take 2-1 on Manchester City to win the Premier League under Guardiola?
Yeah, that's interesting. That is a very interesting bet. I think I might go with Newcastle there. But this is TalkSport. We're out of time. Loads more coming up.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on TalkSport and Talk Radio.
Coming up in the next hour, Lisa Daly's going to join us. She's our relationship guru. She's going to be talking about how certain types of men are attracted to certain types of affairs, which will be quite an interesting conversation, I'm sure. Now, lots of people have been tweeting once more. I'm not going to read too many of them out anymore because I don't want to upset you now. But
I've got a few.
How about this from Micah? He says, Porky's favourite place in France, Notre Dame. This makes sense.
Why?
And he doesn't. Well, I could add the rest of it on, but he says the Hunchback of Chester. The bells made him daft.
That's very nice, isn't it? It's very nice.
I've made fun of the fact that you've chosen Notre Dame as your favourite place in Paris.
I've got a few here which are quite complimentary.
Really?
What's this one here?
Good luck finding them.
What?
Good luck finding them.
Hang on.
Coco says, Mike, I work 60 hours one week, 72 hours the next week. The price you pay for having kids. And then he says, P.S. please hit Porky on the nose.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it?
Plank.
Let me have a look here. I found one here.
You found one complimentary one amongst the hundreds of ones which are not.
No, some of them are a bit horrible, like this guy Moz who says, "Go on, MG, punch punch Mike in the punch Porky in the Weeble, whatever the Weeble is. It's a nose, is it?
Probably, yeah. David says, MG challenge Porky to a duel. It'll be a damn sight more interesting than a David Hay fight.
Oh, really?
I think that's probably true, actually.
Really?
A couple of people said we should do our next show in a boxing ring.
Next show in a boxing ring, yeah. I'm struggling here because it's the silent majority, really.
Well, you're struggling to find anything that's popular. It's not the silent majority.
No, it's the silent majority.
The majority who are not silent are saying that you have overstepped the mark and been horribly rude to me.
No, the silent majority don't take to social networking as much as the verbose do, and the verbose are basically your army of supporters.
They're not my army of supporters. No, not at all. Fair-minded.
Not necessarily.
Fair-minded.
Not necessarily of sound mind, and that's what it is.
Okay.
That's the way it goes.
Well, I mean, because it's nearly time for the news, shall we have a recap of the voting? Because we're going to have to close the voting down because it's now very nearly been open for an hour. As 369 votes have been cast.
Right.
Which of the two Mikes is the most repulsive? Mike Parry, 69%. Mike Graham, 31%. So you have stormed it.
I don't think people understood the question.
Many congratulations to you.
I think
it's the first thing you've ever won by such a massive margin.
I think they thought...
Since you won the father and son competition at Butlins.
Yeah, I think they thought the question was, which of the two Mikes is more attractive and appealing? I got 63% of that.
Right.
That's what people thought the question was.
You're just trying to lie your way out of it, weren't you? This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. And the Porky Quiz tomorrow night is on the subject of Rolls-Royce, isn't it?
It certainly is, yes.
So I've been boning up on that. I'll tell you what I did see today. I thought this might possibly be an inauspicious day for you to, or time to give up drinking wine.
Right.
Because research has found that basically, if you have a couple of glasses of wine a day, you will age less quickly.
Yes, is that right?
Yeah.
Who told you that?
Well, it's a US research piece of
I'm pleased about that, because I happen to agree.
But you've said that you're not going to drink any more wine, though.
No, I don't want to drink wine.
So that means you're going to start aging faster.
No, I won't, because instead of sitting in a wine bar drinking wine, I'll be out on a daily... I've decided to limit my daily walking now to 40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Yeah, because that way I won't get muscle pulls.
Right.
I had a medial ligament tear in the knee.
How far can you go in 40 minutes?
3
miles?
Sorry?
3 miles? Would you say?
No, probably not that far. I walk at 4 miles an hour, so nearly 3 miles.
Yeah.
Nearly 3 miles.
I mean, a brisk walk is about 15 minutes a mile, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
No, it says here people who drink 1 or 2 alcoholic beverages daily age better than those who drink less or are teetotal, according to research from the University of Iowa.
But I wonder if that applies to people like you and me who've averaged maybe about 2 bottles a day for the past 30 years. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say I've
It's probably about new drinkers or something like that.
No, I don't know. But I mean, it certainly seems as though if you stop, your skin will age quicker.
Yes.
And if you're out in the sun more, your skin will age quicker as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be that by the time this year is over, you'll look about 75.
Yeah, but mad people who go out and sit in the sun end up with faces like Bridget Bardot. You go from being the world's most beautiful woman to a prune.
Well, she did spend a lot of time in the sun.
Oh, horrible to see a woman degenerate like that.
it's not horrible.
badly.
It's just
it is.
called aging. See, I'm not that worried about aging. I don't mind. I'm not.
But you don't end up like Bridget Bardot, though.
Well, you'd look like worse people than Bridget Bardot.
Oh, you couldn't. Honestly, she looks repulsive. She looks like a cushion that somebody's jumped up and down on for about the last 12 years.
I think you'd be very unkind.
Look at these images we're getting on our monitors here. What's going on in France? They're burning tyres. The riot police are there. Now, let's start talking about Rolls Royces and France and petrol. I need to talk to you about a vehicle which I believe was largely responsible for the destruction of modern Britain and the destruction of a lot of the values we hold in this country and would have done for hundreds of years.
A vehicle?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Volkswagen camper van, OK?
Yes.
Now, the reason I mention this is, believe it or not, there is a Volkswagen camper van which is up for sale at the moment on an auction site. It was built in 1957.
Right.
It's a Type 2 Samba microbus. It's apparently highly sought after because it's got 23 windows.
Right.
And this makes it, the elite of it.
Oh, so it's like it's a gear version.
Yeah, that's right.
Something.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's going to sell for £120,000.
120 grand?
120 grand,
wow.
Yeah.
They've got very small engines, those things. I mean, they don't go very fast.
Well, this is the point. I mean, now, the reason is that I hate these vehicles. I hate them with a passion.
Why?
Well, because
they represent hippiedom.
Exactly. They are symbolic of the breakdown of society in the mid-60s, which changed this country from being...
What do you mean the breakdown of society?
The breakdown of society.
What's wrong with what happened in the 60s?
What happened in the 60s was we were a country that was straight thinking. We had good conservative values with a small c, not political values, but we were conservative in our outlook on life. We were fair and just.
You mean family values and all that
Family
sort of thing?
values, we were fair and just. We had a police force that was incorruptible. We had...
I don't know about that.
Yes, we did, in the 60s. And we had a good schooling system and teachers who hadn't come from colleges where their heads had been blown apart by pot and hash and speed and all these nefarious substances.
You're going back into the Victorian era now,
I'm not. What
Yes,
I'm saying is, when these Volkswagen camper vans arrived, all these filthy, smelly hippies in their caftans
who were interested in
never
peace
washed
and
their
love.
hair.
Who were interested in peace and love.
No, they weren't. They
Yeah,
were
they
interested in Rogerisation.
Well, they were interested in peace and love.
They were going round telling each other, oh, hey, man.
If it wasn't for the hippies, right?
Hey, man.
If it wasn't, but hang on. If it wasn't for the hippies...
Hey, baby, rock and roll,
If it wasn't for the hippies, right, the Americans would still be probably in Vietnam. They managed to stop the Vietnam War.
No, that's not true at all.
John Lennon was in favour of them as well.
John Lennon ended the Vietnam War by singing "Give Peace a Chance."
No, he was in favour of hippiedom.
He wasn't in favour of hippiedom. He wasn't, and neither was George Harrison.
Why do you think they went out to India and got sucked in by the guru out there?
That was nothing to do with hippiedom.
Really?
George Harrison went to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. When he got there, he got out of an armoured car, so to speak. He said, "Is this it?" And they said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm off." Got back in the car, never went back again. He said, "What he found was squalor. What he found was, outrageous drug taking, illegal activities, people living like pigs in squats and all this kind of stuff. And that's what it was. And that took over the world, and that changed the world.
It changed the world for the better.
And most teachers...
Changed the world for the better.
Most teachers who, grew up in that era in universities and colleges, then became filthy, drug-addled hippies themselves. They passed on those values to the children.
Drug-addled hippies.
Yeah, they passed on their values to the children.
Listen to what you say.
Those children
when
are now
the podcast
adults.
Comes out.
What?
Do you ever listen back to what you say when the podcast comes
Why?
out and wonder where it all came from?
Why?
Well, because you're so ridiculous.
Do you think hippies were clean people?
Well, of course they were clean.
They lived in communes.
So what?
They didn't have any electricity or running
That's
water.
not true.
They lived in tepees in forests in Wales.
Well, that's fine. Doesn't mean you're filthy.
It doesn't mean that you're clean,
well,
does it?
Let's put it
Don't
this way.
shower 3 times a day when you live in a tepe with no running water.
Back in the 60s, where you came from, there were people still using outside toilets. We've got a much more modern world
now. But they
now.
were in civilised homes. They were in civilised
you're
homes.
not civilised home with an outside toilet.
Well, you are if you haven't got an inside toilet and you've got a tin bath. You can always bath in.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the people, generally speaking, in the 60s weren't as clean as
but
we are now.
But it's the values, all this free love.
What's wrong with free love?
I never agreed with free love.
You never agreed with it?
I never agreed with the...
You didn't mind paying for it, though, by taking somebody out for dinner with somebody else's wife.
I never agreed with the liberalisation of the contraceptive pill. I think that was given away far too liberally. So you don't believe
in equality for women either?
Well, of course I believe in equality for women, but I think...
So you don't think women should be able to control their own bodies?
I thought women were exploited by the contraceptive pill.
Rubbish.
Because all the hippie mantra was, hey, free love, man. Let's all have free love, and all that kind of stuff. Everybody wanted free love. And I'm afraid that led to a rash of illegitimate children. And
quite
I
a lot
don't.
of rashes as well, probably.
I don't believe illegitimate children have the best start in life.
When you say
that's my
illegitimate
particular
children,
view.
what do you mean?
I mean children born out of wedlock.
Really?
In unstable relationships.
So I have 2 children born outside of wedlock.
Yeah, but at least they were in a sort of stable relationship until you abandoned them and rushed off and started another one.
No,
But
that's not true. I'm talking about the younger ones.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you.
All right.
And so, to me, this camper van, do you know what? I think somebody should buy it for 120,000. Somebody who's got, a good moral attitude to life, is very rich, and then take it to a crusher and crush it as a symbol of, we decry the moral values that this
And
camper
you're laying
van...
all of this at the door of the VW bus, as
I am,
they call
yeah,
it in America.
I am. Because when you used to see...
That's ridiculous.
When you see these buses go past with all these filthy people inside them with beads in their hair, there'd be about 10 of them in the camper van, and they'd all be having sex with each other. Not just one partner and all that kind of stuff.
As they were driving along?
Yeah, sometimes.
Where did you see that?
Well, you see it, don't you?
Really?
Around the
You see
countryside
it?
and all that kind
It's
of
not
stuff.
something I've seen.
Well, I mean,
mind you, I haven't been to the summer solstice at Stonehenge,
well,
except
exactly.
for driving past it.
Exactly.
See quite a
That's
lot of them
what I'm
there.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Filthy individuals.
And I despair sometimes at the way that our society has
do you not feel as if
has
you've
declined
somehow,
so rapidly?
Do you not feel as though you've somehow been left behind?
No, I haven't
and
been
that
left
you're
behind.
the sort of the sole defender of this so-called moral outrage
you see,
that has changed the world for the worse.
You see, that's always the fate of those who are big enough, like me, to stand up and make a statement about moral values.
Well, you have no morals, though. I mean, you go on about morals, but like all people who go on about morals, like John Major's cabinet, when they went back to basics, do you remember? And about half a dozen of them ended up having to resign because they were either having affairs with people they shouldn't have been having, having children with people they shouldn't be having children
people.
with. Absolutely unbelievable.
Shocking
Behind every hypocrite who believes in high moral standing is a dirty secret, is what I would say.
Well,
what's yours?
I've got no dirty secrets.
You haven't got a dirty secret?
Of course I haven't got any dirty secrets.
Are you
sure? Certain.
I'm
Absolutely
not so
certain.
sure.
Absolutely certain.
We can talk some more about this with Lisa Daly because she's going to be talking about how certain types of men are attracted to having affairs with unattainable women, i.e. those women who are married.
Right.
And she's going to tell us about why their brains are wired differently.
Okay, that's good.
Fascinating stuff.
Indeed.
Coming up on TalkSport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
TalkSport, we are the Two Mics. Lisa Daly's coming up a little while. Porky Vision coming up later on in the show, of course, as well. There's a nice little bit of blues music for you there.
Yeah, now what was that?
That was Wilko Johnson, wasn't it?
That was Wilko Johnson, Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
How did you know that?
Well, because I know Wilko Johnson. I've seen Wilko Johnson play. I saw Dr. Feelgood a couple of times. Yeah, back in many years ago.
Really?
When I was still at college, I think it was.
Okay, well, it's a very interesting story.
Great guitarist, Wilko Johnson.
Is he? Is he a guitarist? Anyway, it's very interesting because do you know what happened? That Wilko Johnson was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Yes.
So what he does is he decides to have a farewell tour. He had a bet. It says he was the cornerstone of the blues band, Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
Were they a blues band?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that was their kind of, it was like rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Right, okay. So anyway, a couple of years ago, he made a bet with his mate, £100 he wouldn't see Christmas. And his mate thought he was having a laugh about drinking himself to death or something. In fact, he'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer.
And it was one. I know that this will sound not like it's meant to, but it was one of the more serious forms of cancer as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Pancreatic or something.
Yeah, it was pretty aggressive. So anyway, he said, when I realised I was dying, I felt suddenly alive. So he says, everything around me looked sharp and vibrant because I knew I only had a certain amount of time to live. I felt free from the future and the past. I felt free from everything but the moment I was in because it wasn't going to last much longer. Right. So I went out on a farewell tour and occasionally ended shows with the words good night and goodbye.
Right.
And then...
I think he's touring at the moment, isn't he?
He's touring at the moment, You're right, yeah. His birthday's on July the 23rd, and then on that night, from the stage, he said, thanks, folks, this is my last birthday, and it was all a bit of a mystery and all that kind of stuff, And then when people found out he was dying, he was getting things like taxi drivers queuing up to take him whenever he wanted with no, you don't have to pay any fare.
Right.
People in restaurants giving him free meals, hotels offering him free rooms, all that kind of stuff. And he was getting tributes from all over the world from people like Elton John, who'd heard that he was dying, right?
Right.
Now, then something happened. he bumps into a cancer specialist who'd heard about his case.
Yeah.
The cancer specialist, well, let me have a look and come down and see me at my consulting rooms. We'll run some tests. Anyway, the cancer specialist says, I think I can save you. He said, what? He said, yeah, it'll take 11 hours. It's a long operation, but I think we can.
Really?
When he woke up from the operation, the cancer specialist showed him a 7-pound tumour that he'd taken out of the part of his body.
Well, he didn't know that was there?
He did, but he'd been told it was inoperable.
Oh, I see, right.
Because it surrounded his pancreas.
Yeah.
This surgeon had actually taken it out with his pancreas.
Right.
He now lives without a pancreas,
Right.
OK?
Is that, I suppose it is possible if he's still alive.
Yeah, he had sections of his gut and stomach attached to it, OK? But his death sentence has been lifted. He's now still alive. So it's just an amazing story.
Yeah.
And he looks back on...
So it's like a miracle, a cure, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But now he wonders why it all happened, and now he reflects back on his life and tries to find out why it happened. He says that in the group Dr. Feelgood, he said, I was overburdened with the responsibility of being the sole songwriter, and I developed an amphetamine habit, and I'm sure that my misuse of drugs led to my condition.
Yeah.
Because your pancreas.
Well, that was the thing as well in those days.
Yeah.
Of you talk about the hippies smoking dope
Yes.
and all that. I mean, the sort of the Dr. Feelgood generation
Yes.
was all about speed. People just took speed all the time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Whereas
see.
just
Yeah.
amphetamines, it's not very good for you.
Well, that can wreck your pancreas. Anyway, listen, I wanted to contrast that, actually,
Yes.
with a very, very, very good news story. Anybody who is... I mean, I had the death sentence, as you know.
Well, so you keep telling me.
And I'm... Well, I mean, that's a very unkind thing to say.
Unkind? You're accusing me of being unkind to you after all the things you said to me.
When you've been told that you've only got 3 months unless you get a new heart, I mean, that can be quite a blow. You have to face up to that and just stoically get on with life, which I did.
Yes.
Particularly as you can't tell your mother because it might upset her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want your old mum to be upset and think that, her poor little boy's only got a few months to live.
So you never told her?
I never told her. I kept it to myself.
You still not told her?
No, I haven't told her, and I didn't tell my
You
sisters.
might listen to the radio and find out.
Well, it's so long ago now that obviously it wouldn't come as a shock anymore. But anyway, the point of the story is I contrast that with an obituary I came across in the last 48 hours from a chap called John Berry. And John Berry was the founder member of the Beastie Boys.
Oh, yes.
Now, do you know the Beastie Boys?
I remember the Beastie Boys, yeah. They were the first sort of white rap band.
Well, they're described as a hip-hop group.
Yeah.
Which helped to popularise rap music.
That's it.
Is that right?
And they were white, though, as well. They were like
Yes,
Jewish
they were.
kids from Brooklyn.
They were.
Adam Horowitz, I think, was the lead singer.
And apparently they started in 1982 and became massive. But it says here, John Berry, who has died aged 52, which is no age.
No age at all.
That is appallingly young age to die.
Yeah.
Was a guitarist and one of the members of the original Beastie Boys, the first white hip-hop group.
Yes.
Which played a key role in popularising rap with a wider audience, opening the doors for artists such as Eminem, right?
Who?
Yeah, Eminem.
Eminem.
Who was it? Eminem. And
Eminem.
And they sold... Sorry, what's your problem?
It's okay, carry on.
It's Eminem.
It's Eminem. Eminem.
No, Eminem is a sweet.
And that's an M and M.
Yeah, this is Eminem.
Eminem.
Anyway, they sold...
Eminem.
They sold... Honestly, you are stupid. What a thickhead you are. Anyway, they sold more than 40 million records, OK?
Yes.
Now, they began life...
I think I've got a couple of them.
Have you?
Yeah.
Really? Mm.
Well,
Right.
they were very sort of... I wouldn't say trendy is the right word, but I mean, we play them here quite often
Yes.
from time to time. Fight for your right to party and all that.
Right.
You know, they were massive.
Yeah. Well, it's a
They
very
passed
sad...
you by.
Yeah, OK.
So what did he die from, anyway?
Well, I'll get to that in a second. It's not happy. The group began in 1978 as a punk band called the Young Aborigines. And they were brought up in... Was it New York?
They were in Brooklyn, I think.
Oh, Brooklyn, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true, yeah. Right, OK. No, here you go, sorry. They had a large ramshackle wooden structure on 100th Street and Broadway on Manhattan's Upper West Side,
Yeah.
OK? That's where they practiced.
Well, yeah, that's where they kind of worked. But where they came from,
right.
I'm pretty sure it was Brooklyn.
Well, that was at one of the band's house of his father or something.
Okay.
Anyway, Berry left the band in 1982, shortly after the release of their first EP, Pollywog Stew.
Uh-huh.
That's a strange name. To be replaced by Adam Ad Rock Horowitz. Is he famous?
Adam Horowitz, he was the guy I was telling you about. Yeah, he was the front man, basically.
OK.
So he was the guy. If you think of the Beastie Boys, you think of him.
But he came to them from a band called Young and Useless.
Yeah.
Right? Does
Could
that
be.
make sense? Yeah.
I don't know their history that well.
OK. Right, now then, it was said here that John Berry, even though he was in this group, didn't feel comfortable with the scowling punk image. The Upper West Side house was later pictured on the cover of Hell House, the album of Big Fat Love. Who were they?
Yeah, that's not something I'm too familiar with.
All
Big
right,
Fat
fine.
Love.
Anyway, to answer your question, it's very sad. what he died of was he developed frontal lobe dementia about 5 or 6 years ago.
Right. At that young age, that's unusual, isn't it?
Exactly. And had been in declining health for several years, and sadly, last week lost the fight for life at the age of 52, which is terribly, terribly sad. It says that Yorch, a guy called Yorch, Y-A-U-C-H, who was another member of the band. Don't ask me what his proper name was. I don't know. He sadly died of cancer, aged 47.
Wow.
In 2012. So
that number again?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that's all a bit sad, really, isn't it? These people have fantastic lives and propel themselves into the limelight. But you're absolutely right. What we've just said about the previous chap, Wilco Johnson.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just don't pay attention to what they're doing to their bodies, and it all comes back. Although,
but I mean, I think in as well. I mean, to be serious for a minute, I mean, people who are lucky and or unlucky in terms of their medical health and how they manage to survive things and not. I mean, there are so many different reasons why people live long lives and why some people can have cancer and survive.
Totally agree.
I mean, look at David Ginola. I mean, we were talking about this the other day.
Unbelievable.
I mean, he's a guy who, on the face of it, looks like the fittest man alive.
I totally agree.
And he's just had quadruple heart bypass surgery after, collapsing on a football pitch.
Yeah, which incidentally, by the way, is a great operation to have. I know that sounds silly, but, I would love to have bypass surgery on my heart because your heart goes from being completely knackered to completely
but would they not
good again.
But would they not have to somehow rejuvenate the bit that doesn't work before they did that?
I can't have bypass because the whole of the left-hand side of my heart doesn't work. So and you can't transplant that. You can only transplant the whole heart.
Right.
So
they've said you don't need that now, right? You don't need a transplant.
At the moment, I don't need a transplant, but and it's the last vestige of trying to save somebody. So if my heart's still working, even at 33%, it's okay.
Right.
Now with David,
or 49% even,
whatever percentage, depending on which part of the heart you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now with David, I mean, although I'm not a heart consultant, the reason they give you bypass surgery is because your veins and your arteries are furred up.
Yeah.
So they take them from the back of your legs and all that kind of stuff, and they put them into your heart, and they take the old ones out and throw them away.
Yeah.
You then become. I tell you,
but it means your heart as such is all right.
Yeah, it means your heart's all right.
It just means going in and out of it.
Yeah, it means the tubes feeding it and taking stuff away from it are all furred up. And I mean, David's a smoker, so I don't know whether that's a contributor. Who knows? But I tell you, a great pal of ours, Steve Curry, great pal of mine certainly for about 35 years on the Express. I mean, he explained to me he felt he was nearly dead. He could barely walk 10 yards, and he couldn't go to football matches anymore. And he was completely gone. He was on a golf course when he collapsed, and he thought he was never going to make it off it.
Yeah.
And he had heart bypass surgery, and he said, from completely knackered and unable to move and get out of bed.
Yeah.
To be able to run marathons and all sorts of things.
Really?
Well, I mean, he didn't run a marathon, but he could have walked a marathon.
Yeah.
And he said it's just that miracle side of operation which sorts you out.
Yeah.
The only thing...
It's expensive, though, isn't it?
Well, he got his done on National Health.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's expensive from the National Health's point of view.
It certainly is. I agree.
So they probably don't want to give everybody one just because they can do it.
No, but if they can help people out, they will do it. The one thing that is the negative is that in order to do it, what they do is they saw with a circular drill, the sort of drill that you'd see to cut planks of wood.
Planks.
They saw down your breastbone.
Yeah. Circular saw.
A circular saw.
Yeah.
They saw down your breastbone. They saw it in two, and then they literally open your chest up by pulling your ribs out like this. Okay, so your chest is wide open, and then they do the bypass surgery, which doesn't take long. Takes about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they put it back together again.
But the recovery period is quite long, isn't it?
It takes a year and a half for that bone to knit back together.
I wouldn't fancy having anyone cut me open.
And during that time, it is quite sore and difficult.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, your breathing capacity improves miraculously. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought I'd let you know.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay, that's good.
We've got lots more to come, including a conversation with Lisa Daly next, who's our relationship guru. She's going to give some advice to Porky.
That's good.
About his problem with women. This is Talk Sport.
I haven't got a problem.
The things we do for love, the things we do for love, like walking in the rain and the snow when there's nowhere to go, when you're feeling like a part of you is dying, and you're looking for the answer in her eyes. You think you're gonna break up, then she says she wants to make up.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on in the show, of course. You don't want to miss that. The best TV review this side of French Polynesia. Right now, though, we're going over to the US of A to talk to our favourite relationship guru. It's, of course, Lisa Daly. Lisa, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back on.
Not at all. Pleasure.
Lovely to have you on the show, Lisa. Thank you.
It's all ours. Now, my interest was piqued by a story I saw a little bit earlier on this week in which it said that the brains of men who tend to fall for married women are wired differently from the brains of other men. Now, what do you make of that?
I think it's true. It's actually it's really fascinating. They did find that their brains are quite different. The mate poachers actually have a different prefrontal cortex. And what's really fascinating about it, I mean, it was completely different than the 70% of guys who would be less interested in a woman who was already attached. And this is so fascinating because we actually find something different in the brains of cheaters as well. That prefrontal cortex is responsible for things like impulse control. So a lot of times people who have impulse control issues have issues with cheating, but also gambling, addiction, anger management, that kind of thing. So it is really funny that you have this big chunk of people whose brains are just completely different.
Well, you see, I find that amazing, Lisa, because I have never got married, right? But I had a very sort of active career in the media, newspapers and all that. Now, I went out, or dated is in your terminology, a lot of married women, but the reason I did that was because I was single and had a great job, you know, had an important role in the organisation, women were attracted to me. The second reason they were attracted to me was because I used to compliment them and say, wow, you look nice today, or have you had your hair done, or whatever, you know, a nice perfume. And they were then hitting on me. I never tried to entice a married woman to come out with me or come to dinner or anything like that. If I knew she was married, no way in the world.
Very weak-willed.
No, hang on, no way in the world was I going to try and enforce her into infidelity. But these women clearly had stale marriages. They clearly had husbands who'd stopped complimenting them and paying them attention and trying to impress them, you know, as a good partner. And therefore, they turned to me. Now, that's not my fault. What was I supposed to do? Reject them?
You're just fulfilling a societal need there. These poor women were being neglected, and you just picked up the slack for them.
Well, that is true.
Isn't that indicative of this part of the brain that you're referring to a little bit earlier, where basically you justify anything that you can do? It's kind of the work of a sociopath, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if I'd go as far as calling you a sociopath.
Exactly.
The thing, I mean, we don't want to go that far. But it's interesting to me that, I mean, obviously they're approaching you, but you have the choice on who you're going to date. And so no single women are approaching you. It was only women who were already attached. Yeah. And a lot of times people who date people who are married or are otherwise attached, they really like the goal, they like the challenge of it, they like the fact that it's a little bit naughty and there's secrets. And then the other thing is that people who are married or already attached are very attractive to people who don't actually want to commit to a real relationship.
Well, I've read stuff in the past.
You kind of feel like...
I've also read stuff in the past that as a man, if you are, say, for example, with a woman already, whether you're wearing a wedding ring or not, other women see you as a much better catch than somebody who isn't attached, because they figure that, you know, therefore physically you must be in reasonable shape because you're able to have a relationship with a woman, and you know, the fact that you're kind of involved with somebody else means that you're more of a target for them.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. Anecdotally, there is a lot. I hear a lot of stories from married guys that's true. That now, I have not seen any studies, and I've been researching this area for 15 years. I've never seen any actual proof that a wedding ring is going to make a guy more attractive. I will say, though, if you're thinking about it, you know, if you're talking about 30% of men, and again, this is a really small study. It was only like 40 people that they studied, and they were all men, But you can assume, just from the fact that there are as many female alcoholics, as many female drug addicts, as many female gamblers, that you're going to have a similar portion of the population that has the same, you know, sort of prefrontal cortex issues, and so it's very possible that these, you know, that you have a good 30% of women that feel the same way, that they want to date somebody who's already attached.
Yeah, no.
Say, oh, well, he's already gotten married once, so he's a great catch.
Well, maybe, yeah. Now, I'll tell you another aspect of this, Lisa, right? If, for instance, I'd started seeing a married woman and it had developed a bit, we got into the second month or something like that, then...
The second month?
Yeah, something like that.
What, do you only have a month at it?
Well, no, I'm just saying.
You didn't cut them off after a month?
No. And then we'd plan to spend a night in a hotel in town, okay? And she'd make up some story about, having to work and all that kind of stuff.
What, all night?
Well, yeah, like, because she'd gone away on a business conference or something like that with her boss or something like that,
Which wasn't entirely untrue.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So then you'd get into the old hotel, get a nice room, and you order a bottle of champagne up to the room and all that kind of stuff, buy some roses. And then the next morning I had to explain, look, if we were married, this wouldn't happen. Because they always wanted to marry me, you see. They always wanted to leave their husband and marry me. And I said, well, no. I said, this won't happen every day if we are man and wife. This only happens because we are having an illicit relationship. But I could never get that round their heads. Do you see what I mean?
I do. Did they really think it was going to be all hotels and room service, though?
Yeah, absolutely. They thought, well, because I do this, now, I'll do it for the rest of my life. But I said, well, no, the mechanic of the relationship actually changes if you become man and wife.
What you should have said is that I'll still be doing this, but it'll be with somebody else.
Oh, yeah, well, that's probably true, yeah.
Well, why'd you give them roses, by the way?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
well, and if you are husband and wife, you end up... especially relationships that start as affairs, they have like a 90% failure rate. I mean,
yes.
So it's very likely, or she could be in a hotel room with somebody else. Because if you're going to cheat on your first or second or third relationship, you're certainly going to continue doing that in your next.
Well, actually, no woman ever cheated on me during my whole life.
How do you know that?
Well, I know that.
How do you know that?
I do know it.
How do you know?
I
know it for a fact.
I'm sure those poor husbands of the women that you were sleeping with in the hotel probably thought the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I love my wife. She's doing really well at work. She's off on a business conference with her boss.
Yes.
She's going to a business centre. It's going to be great.
Yeah. I tell you what was interesting. Often they would,
Did they never suspect?
Well, I don't know. Often they would use when we had a few glasses of champagne or something, often tell me what a bore and a useless individual their husbands were. You know what I mean? And that was.
You'd encourage that? Presumably.
No, I didn't encourage it at all. I found that quite embarrassing because I thought, no, they're not that bad because I wanted her to go back to a husband. I didn't want to have the problem or the issue of having to develop the relationship.
My issue with this, and it hasn't come out in this survey, Lisa, but my kind of theory on why people have relationships with other married people is because they're frightened of commitment, and they figure that if somebody's married, rather than expecting them to want to leave their husband or wife, they're rather hoping they won't, and then they don't get hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it. A lot of times, if you're not interested in commitment or you're not ready for commitment, you'll seek out people who are unavailable. So they're either in another relationship, they're married, they're workaholic, or they have some psychological issue that keeps them distant. Long-distance relationships are another thing. A lot of times people who don't really, they think they want a relationship and they sort of want to feel like they're in love, but they don't actually want this sort of day-to-day commitment. The perfect thing to do is date someone who lives 100 or 1,000 miles away.
Yeah, whether it's geographically or in their heads. An interesting thing as well that's come out of this is that it says men are more likely to have affairs with work colleagues, but women are more likely to have affairs with their friends.
70% of affairs start at work. And generally speaking, and people always think like the affair partner is some stranger and you meet in a restaurant or in a hotel. But most of the time, it's somebody in your immediate proximity.
Oh, it is,
so it's your so it's your sister or your brother-in-law or your neighbor. But almost always, it's somebody at work.
Well,
if you think about it, work relationships are really easy. Work affairs are really easy to have because you have it's my job. I got to be there.
Yep.
Oh, he's just a colleague, and then you have the expense account. So, and plenty of business trips.
Exactly. I mean, this is what I call the Christmas party syndrome, where everybody gets completely off their face in drink, and you find people cavorting behind the filing cabinets and underneath the desk, and sometimes in the boss's office over his desk and this kind of stuff. And
shocking.
And that can often lead to, things developing.
Red faces in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you are on the boss's desk, things have already developed.
Yeah, well, that's quite true.
Especially now with CCTV, which we have a lot of around here. But I mean, you talk about work relationships. I've been working with Mr. Parry next to me here for on and off for about 5 or 6 years, and I have had no inkling of any kind of attraction towards him. But I do think about separating myself from him quite a lot. What does that mean?
Oh, you guys got to work it out. You got to work it out.
I think we should go get counselling.
The whole world would be sad if you two split up.
No,
I have to have a little radio counselling.
No, I can't think of anything more repulsive than getting closer to Michael Graham, my work partner here. Believe me, that's why I have to go off and take strong drink on a regular basis. Just to be able to cope with it all.
I mean, is it socially less acceptable now to pinch somebody else's husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, or is it now? Do you think it's becoming more common? Because it seems to me, and I don't want to sort of make sweeping statements, it seems to me that there's a lot more casual sex going on now than there used to be.
I think we have the exact same amount of casual sex that used to happen, and I think we just know more about it because we live in the internet age and people are talking about it and people get caught all the time. It's
easier now, though, isn't it?
It's happening anymore.
But it's easier now, isn't it, with all these apps and stuff?
It is easier. It's easier to hook up. It's easier to. I mean, there are apps that will help you lie to your spouse.
Yeah.
They'll set up
called
a whole
a phone.
fake identity for you. Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so there are or apps that will shield your phone number or all kinds of stuff like that.
Right.
Hide your text from your girlfriend on your phone.
Yeah.
All kinds.
This is all good stuff.
All kinds, you name it.
It's good
exactly.
stuff.
Well,
Good
Porky
stuff.
can't even find most of the text on his phone, so
No,
I mean,
that's true.
it's information device is not his strong point. But Lisa, thank you very much indeed, as ever.
Yeah.
I hope you've got an interesting week ahead. Have you got any books coming out or anything? Oh, she's gone.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Talking about this, by the way, talking about this attraction as all this kind of stuff, just
Yeah.
been sent a very nice note by William.
Yes.
Just to remind us that on this day, May the 26th in 1969, John Lennon and Yoko Ono began their second bedding for peace in Montreal.
No, there you go. In the the world of hippies, right?
The world of hippies,
Somebody
yeah.
else has sent us a note saying that
yeah.
David in Notts has said, I just thought I'd mention on this day, 26th of May 1904, George Formby was born.
Really?
Like Porky, he was a northern lad, very cheeky, rude, and with a terrific wrist action. Still very popular.
I do a great impersonation. Seriously.
Do you?
Honestly. Yeah. Just very quickly, yeah.
Go on.
I'm leaning on my lamppost on the corner of the street to watch a certain little lady go by.
It's not bad.
Oh, me.
That's good.
Oh, my.
That's enough.
There's a certain little lady going by.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
I'm leaning on the lamppost at the corner of the street in case a certain little lady comes by. Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. I don't know if she'll get away, she doesn't always get away, but anyhow I know that she'll try.
1904, eh? So that would be, if he was still alive, he'd be 112?
That's right. So he will have sung that for the first time, probably when he was about 22 or 23.
Yeah.
So that will be in 1927.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not a massive fan of George Formby.
Well, I'm not, but he was a great part of English culture.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And if you think about it, he was synonymous with Blackpool, he's already synonymous with the north of England.
Yeah.
I think he came from Fleetwood, actually, or
maybe.
somewhere on that far coast, you know. And do you know what his famous expression was? And I didn't know this until I saw a documentary on him. It turned out nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
He always
Well,
talking about the weather and saying, oh, it turned out nice, you know. And this sort of thing. But I would love to hear from the audience about my impersonation.
Would you?
Because I thought it was good.
Okay, well, I'm sure people will have
And when
something
we
to say
just
about it.
listened to the original there, which John, our whiz kid on the keys there, it was very similar to mine, don't you think?
It was relatively similar.
I thought it was very good, yeah.
Yours wasn't bad. I'd have to say yours wasn't bad. Now, let me read you a couple of texts and tweets we got here.
Okay.
One has come in, a couple have come in about Wilco Johnson, actually.
Right.
This one from Richard in Swindon. He says, Dr. Feelgood were a rhythm and blues band. They split because Wilco did drugs, whilst the other three were quite happy with beer.
Oh, really?
They were brilliant live. Well, I saw them live, Richard. They were brilliant live.
I see.
He used to get very sweaty.
Yes.
But he looked like he looked like a madman because he took so much speed.
Yeah.
His eyes were literally bulging out of his
Really?
head. You know, and he
Yeah.
would do that kind
Yeah.
of Chuck Berry style, kind of one-legged, you know, moving across the stage backwards and forwards with a guitar.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
Here's one from David who says, it's great that Wilco is still going strong. Check out his fantastic version of Going Back Home with Roger Daltrey last year.
Who's that?
This is David who sent that in.
Who's he saying? Check out what version of what?
Wilco doing a version of a song called Going Back Home with Roger Daltrey last year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Ian says, listening to Porky's Rogerisation techniques makes him sound like Swiss Tony from the Fast Show.
Swiss Tony
Fine wines and Belgian chocolates.
Yeah, well, what's the Fast Show?
What's the Fast Show?
Yeah.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not. No.
You've never seen the Fast Show?
No, I haven't seen the Fast Show.
Well, it's part of the sort of comedy history of this country.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know that.
Swiss Tony was one of the big characters in the Fast Show.
What time was that on usually, or what channel?
What time?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what time it
Was it on a Sunday night, or
I can't
when
remember.
was it?
Yeah, I mean, you can still see it now. I mean, it still gets shown on various,
Yes, yeah.
old TV
Okay.
channels.
Now, I'm getting a few comments here now about my George Formby impersonation. Young Becky, who's in New Zealand, of course, she says, "Why was Porky doing an impersonation of Jimmy Durante?"
Yes,
that's rather harsh, Becky. Considering that this it was an artistic impersonation of one of the great entertainers of this country.
Yes.
When you think of George Formby, you think of because his other song was. When I'm cleaning windows.
Yeah. Well, it was quite risque for his time, wasn't
All
it?
sorts of things that
you'd have
you
to sing
can
it again.
see. Washing windows, that's for me. I've never been so happy when I'm cleaning windows.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed. Derek in Pencoed has been in touch. He says, Mike, Porky keeps going on about only a third of his heart works. Maybe that's why he calls people who are not as well off as he is dirty, smelly, filthy, dross deadbeats. And then he says, and now he's blaming married women he had affairs with. Yeah. He is also to blame.
Well, no. I mean, you've got to remember there is a certain political climate inside an office.
Yes.
And if you fall out with people, so if I rejected these women coming on to me on a regular basis, it could have caused emotional turmoil.
Yes.
I was encouraged, actually, for a lot of the time, just to get on with it. I mean, our boss, who was Sir Nicholas Lloyd...
Well, you don't have to give his name away.
Well, it doesn't matter, people know.
Oh, yeah, but it might lead to the naming of other people.
Oh, well,
which
no.
you wouldn't necessarily want.
No, I mean, he would encourage me if a certain, lady executive was, sort of hot on the heels of my ardour or something like that, he would often encourage it and say, this is good for office morale. He would.
Well, that was very wrong of him, was it not?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he was in charge.
Because, there's nothing worse than an office romance that goes bad.
No, that can be
then
problems.
Leads to one or both sometimes of the people involved actually leaving.
I mean, I was about to say
they can't work with each other.
I was about to say I've seen that happen in organisations where something hot is going on, and what's usually pathetic is the way they try to cover it up.
Yes,
and it's so obvious to everybody.
Right.
I'll tell you one once.
And everybody gossips about it anyway.
Yeah, I'll tell you one once. So this is great. I had a colleague who was married, and he was really trying to tap up a lady who was on the back bench on the production desk. Who
was she very tall?
Yeah, she was very tall, and she had very long legs, and she wasn't married, okay?
She was blonde.
She was blonde.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, they'd started a bit of a fling, and she had just sent him... And now, the way the office worked out was that the news desk was here, so he faced up the office.
Well, they can't see this because you're on the radio.
Yeah, okay. Well, he
so
sits...
You might as well describe it more sort of...
Yeah, okay. He sits in a room which is as big as an aircraft hangar, and he's
as big as an aircraft hangar?
As big as an aircraft hangar. It's called the newsroom, right?
Okay.
And he's on a desk which is 6 seats wide, okay? That's called the news desk.
Yes.
And a few yards in front, there's another desk 6 seats wide. That's called the back bench.
Yes.
And that's where the copy, the news stories go to once they've left the news desk.
Okay.
And so he's sitting to my right, because he's one of my assistants.
Okay.
And the lady we're talking about is sitting in front of me, because on that day she was night editing.
Okay.
So they're starting this bit of a fling, and they're sending emails to each other, because it was early days of emails. People are still fascinated by emails.
Yeah, well, they had this weird message system, didn't they? The reason I'm saying that, because they didn't have emails yet, because I was responsible for bringing them in years later.
Oh, I see.
They had that funny message system where you could message somebody, but it flashed up on their screen.
That's right, absolutely. So anyway, the lady concerned has just responded to an email from my colleague, who, by the way, I'm afraid is dead now. He died of cancer.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, it was very sad, but he was a great guy. He was a really nice guy.
He didn't drink himself to death.
He didn't drink himself to death, no. And what happened was, Nick, the editor, came down, stood behind the lady I'm talking about, because he wanted to see something on the screen, and all of a sudden, this message pinged up, and it said... you look wonderfully sexy, and I want to ravish you, even looking at the back of your head.
Oh, yeah.
And that came from my colleague on my right.
And it said who it came from, presumably?
Yes, of course it said who it came from, yeah.
Not very helpful.
And so Nick, who was like, he was aware of these sort of things, have been going on in newspaper processes for years.
Yeah.
just turned round and smiled, and of course it was wholly embarrassing to Gordon, the man on my right.
What?
Well, Gordon's dead now, unfortunately, but he was a great guy. He was a great guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fortunately, we're out of time before you give your second name away.
Okay.
But we've got much more coming up, including Porky Vision.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Porky Vision coming up in a little while. Quite a few people are being complimentary about your George Formby impersonation.
Oh, excellent.
Mick says, Porky, brilliant impersonation of George Formby.
Thank you.
Roger says, very good impersonation of George Formby.
Thank you.
And then here's one from Jamie, who says, Porky by name, Porky by nature.
Yeah.
Take it easy on the secretary and mind the poor old ticker.
Ooh.
Stefan says, enjoyed Porky's Formby impression. Bang on the bell. Can he do anyone else? Don't ask him that. He won't stop.
Here's one from Becky, who, was always teasing me. She says, the adoring public are so pleased Porky got out of the newspaper business. Otherwise, he could be dead by now. Oh, that's very nice. Thank
Very
you, Becky.
true.
Yeah.
Now, Scott says yesterday, the 25th, was the anniversary of the first British club winning the European Cup.
Say again.
The 25th anniversary of the first British club winning the European Cup.
What, you mean Celtic?
Must be.
It's more than 25 years.
Well, I would have thought so. It was 1968.
67.
67, rather.
And United won at 68. So 67 to 07 is 30. So, and what year is it now? 16. It's 39 years.
Yeah. So why would you say that?
I don't know.
Very bizarre.
Yeah,
Now, we've got to do listography coming up.
Okay.
So we need to pick a subject, okay?
Yes.
I've got some that have been coming in over the course of the day.
Yes.
One from Rowan, who says, to balance out the explosive start, 3 qualities you admire or like about each other.
Yes. That would be difficult.
Rich says, list your 3 most memorable sporting occasions, not necessarily that you've attended. 3 songs or lyrics that mean the most when you hear them or remind you of a memorable moment in your life.
Yep.
Which 3 historical events would you most like to have reported on?
Oh, I like all these. What was the one about lyrics?
Lyrics one is 3 songs or lyrics that mean the most when you hear them.
Right.
Or remind you of a memorable moment in your life.
We've done a bit of that, really, haven't we?
I suppose we've done songs, haven't we?
Yeah.
Then we've got, don't know if this has been asked before, 3 favourite people that you've interviewed. Don't know if we have done that before.
Yeah. I quite like the sporting events one, I have to say. What do you think?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
3 sporting events that you wish you would most like. No, hang on. That was historical events, wasn't it?
No, it's 3 sporting events that you don't necessarily have been to, but which
Oh,
you
sorry,
rate
yeah.
as-
3 most memorable sporting occasions.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Which you haven't necessarily attended.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That could be good.
Yes, that's good.
All right, we'll do that coming up in the next hour.
Okay,
3
good.
most memorable sporting occasions.
Okay.
Now, we've got lots of other things to do coming up in the next hour as well.
Yeah.
Here's one from Steve in Darlington. He says, I'm enjoying the show, Mike's, but I have to wonder about Porky.
Yes.
How can he have no idea of who Eminem is or what the Fast Show is? Unbelievable, really, as he works within the media.
Absolutely.
He should have a passing idea. Well, I suppose it's possible that some of the things that we're missing, like I've got sort of gaps in my
Huge gaps,
cultural
because you're in
knowledge
America, and
when
I was
in America.
as well, for a bit.
You
Yeah.
might, but I mean, that wouldn't account for both of those being missing, because Eminem was a massive star in America, but later...
But who said I didn't know who Eminem was? Of course I knew who he was. It was the pronunciation of his name that you picked me up on, as usual.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
because you didn't say it right.
From a basis of complete ignorance again.
What do you mean?
Well, of course, Eminem. That's his name.
Eminem, yeah. Well, that's the way you should have said it. You
That's
didn't
what I
say it
did
that
say.
way.
I did.
Right. David says, Porky's tips to pulling brings a whole new marketing concept of pulled pork.
Hey, what's
no
it
doubt
say?
it'll be on the Weatherspoons menu soon.
Yeah, it will be. What's it say about George Formby? I can't see the rest of the note. George Formby was born in somewhere beginning with W.
Oh, really?
Oh,
From Jeff in Plymouth.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
see the rest of that either.
Well, it must be there on another
Wigan.
machine or something.
Wigan.
Wigan, that's great. What a good town Wigan is.
Is it?
The Road to Wigan Pier.
I don't think I've ever been to Wigan.
George Orwell wrote that.
Did he?
My mate was born in
What's
Wigan.
special about the title?
Well, it's just that obviously the only pier in Wigan is a coal pier. There's not. It's
Well,
not
there
like,
isn't a pier, is there?
Well, there is. It's a coal pier for coal boats, but people think it's on the coast because he wrote the boat.
Yeah.
He wrote the book.
Yeah.
The Road to Wigan Pier.
Right.
There isn't a pier.
But there isn't a pier.
No,
that's the point.
Yeah.
Well, there appears not to be a pier anyway.
Exactly.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Now, the disadvantage of listening to this show in different parts of the world is that it's sometimes a different time zone, right?
Yes.
And there's one here from Becky who says, I'm having lunch, guys. The thought of Porky Rogerising some poor secretary on the boss's desk is truly repulsive.
Well, I didn't say it was me. I just said that these sort of things used to happen.
Well, that might help her.
Yeah,
that might help
you
her.
normally find them in a in a late night situation when a party had taken place in the building,
Right.
celebrating some circulation figures or something. Although actually generally speaking, in those days, the stage of the newspaper industry was such that you'd be celebrating declining circulation figures rather than appreciative
yes,
ones.
Yes, indeed. And here's one from Chris in Welling Garden City. Says, did I hear correctly that Porky attracted the attentions of several married ladies? Surely I misheard that. I can't believe any woman would be attracted to Porky. Well, if you saw Porky in his younger years,
really?
He cut quite a dash. In fact, there's I don't know where they get these from, but occasionally somebody posts on Twitter a little sort of image, a moving image of you walking through the Daily Express newsroom.
I know.
When your hair was still red, when your beard was still red, you looked very slim, very young, and you were presumably on the news desk, or maybe a reporter. I don't know where that comes from.
I don't know where it comes from.
Is there an old film documentary?
I don't know, because you couldn't take it on a telephone camera in those days, could you?
No, it must be from some documentary or something.
Like Cine Camera or something like that?
Could it have been... I mean, because quite often what used to happen was the old, ITN News or somebody
That's
would come
right,
in and
they
film
would,
you doing
from
stories.
Big Story or something,
So it must be from that, because, I mean, so whoever is sending those out, I'd love to find out where that comes from.
Exactly. Now, a bit more information on the old Jose Mourinho, right?
Yes.
You started the show tonight with you getting all upset because I said you could never earn a living from your image.
I did. I apologise for that now.
But, thank you very much indeed.
But I think, we both were probably slightly over the top.
Well, no, I was just pointing out that, all right, I'll accept that neither of us would probably make a living from our images, OK? We'd probably end up...
I'll take that as an apology.
Yeah, we'll probably end up paying our employers. But anyway, just getting back to... Because it is the story of the night. The reason that the Jose Mourinho transfer, so to speak, or his appointment by Manchester United on a £12 million a year contract, that's £1 million a month, is being held up, is image rights. But listen to the extent at which this has become a problem. Chelsea will demand a financial settlement from Manchester United that will probably reach several millions to pass on the trademark for Jose Mourinho, which the club have owned since 2006.
Yeah, so
that's when he left it the first time.
So when he went to somewhere else, so when he went to Real Madrid, for example, presumably they had to pay Chelsea every time they wanted to use him for anything other than just managing.
This is it. It says Chelsea own 3 separate Mourinho trademarks, OK?
Yeah.
And they're due to expire not until 2023 and 2025, right?
Yeah.
If retained, it would prevent United from attaching their new manager's name to a wide variety of merchandise, including, and this is what United want to put his name and his face on, right? Teddy bears, aftershave, computer games and football boots.
Really?
I mean, this is so...
That is amazing,
bizarre.
Isn't it?
Until recently...
Would that be football boots through Adidas? Because they've got
so.
the deal with them, haven't they? But United have got the deal with Adidas for their shirts.
United have got a deal with Adidas. I don't know if Jose Mourinho's got a deal with a sports leisure company. I don't know.
Right.
It says, until recently, Mourinho's former employers also owned the right to reproduce his signature, right? But that 10-year trademark expired early this year, shortly after he was sacked by Chelsea for the second time. OK?
Yeah.
Now, Chelsea's ownership of the Mourinho trademark will not delay his appointment at Old Trafford. However, it will restrict Manchester United from exploiting one of the most iconic figures in world sport for their own commercial purposes.
Right.
Now, this is the interesting bit. Having first filed to register Mourinho's trademark for a period of 20 years in March 2005, Chelsea retained ownership of it throughout his subsequent spells at Inter Milan and Real Madrid. But it's understood that United now want control for themselves. Chelsea refused to say whether or not they will give way on the issue, but if they do, lawyers say it will cost a few million quid.
Yeah. I mean,
isn't that amazing?
As you said earlier to Mark Donaldson, it's astonishing in a way that United didn't know about this before.
Absolutely.
And didn't clear it up before.
Absolutely.
Or at least if they kind of knew that it was like to be a problem, they didn't somehow, just explain it away in some way to Jorge Mendes.
I totally agree.
The fact that Chelsea have owned it for some time clearly didn't cause a problem for Real Madrid.
No.
And if Real Madrid could handle it, why couldn't Man United?
I totally agree. Now, listen, I've got
By the way, just before we go on, 77-44 currently is the score to Cleveland over the Toronto Raptors in Game 5, which is a massive margin of scoring for a basketball game.
And something about which nobody could give a fig.
No, lots of people can.
No,
There's lots of people asking me to give the score out.
Yeah, but that's just for a laugh. That's just to wind me up. Yeah, definitely.
Think so?
Now, listen, I've got some great news here.
Have you?
It's not great news for you, but it is great news for me.
OK, well, that's the most important thing.
Yes, one thing that will help elongate your life, right? Yeah. I don't mean elongate your body. I mean lengthen your life expectancy.
That would be a rack, wouldn't it?
Would be to be eating at least a packet of fish fingers every week.
A packet?
Yeah.
No.
Red wine, oily fish and sunshine could help us live longer.
Not oily fish, yes, but not necessarily fish fingers.
Hang on. By fighting the ageing effects of stress this new study has found. US researchers, da-da-da-da-da, okay? But it points out that you don't need to spend hours preparing fish, and it hasn't got to be trout or salmon or what are other oily fishes?
Well, I suppose,
like sardines and all that kind of stuff.
Sardines, that kind of thing, with omega-3 or whatever they have,
It says omega-3 fatty acids in fish as simple as a packet of fish fingers, vitamin D from sunshine, and resveratrol found in red wine can help lengthen life substantially.
Well, you probably eat a packet
beneficial
of fish
to all the
every week,
genes, eh?
You probably eat a packet of fish fingers a week, I would say.
2 at least.
Really?
2 at least.
Do you ever try the different flavoured ones? You get salmon fish fingers now.
No.
You can get cod.
Well, no, I cod or haddock.
Cod or haddock. Yeah.
Cod or haddock.
Yeah, I don't like the salmon ones.
No, exactly.
I mean, I'll usually have, because the kids like fish fingers, and I will probably have, I would say once every fortnight. I'll have dinner with them, and then we'll have fish fingers.
Yes.
How many peas?
How many do you have?
I usually have about. I start off usually with 3.
3?
And then I'll have another 3.
3, 6.
So I'll probably have 6, yeah. Altogether. But I normally have it, you see, with peas and macaroni cheese.
I have mine just with peas.
Yeah.
I don't have chips and I don't have potatoes.
Really?
No. And I have 12.
12?
Yeah, 12.
What, 12 fish fingers and peas?
Yes.
In one sitting?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Blimey.
Because I don't have anything else. But, you know, I have what I call a fish finger mountain, and I put the peas around it.
Right. So do you actually build and construct the mountain?
Yeah, that's how I designed the plate.
How high does it go up?
Well, if you think about it...
So you go 2 and 2?
No, there's 4 on the deck, on the first layer.
What, like a square?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then 3...
Okay.
Which is 7.
So you're making more like a pyramid then?
Yeah, that's right, which is 9.
Right.
And then 1, which is 10.
So it's a bit like Chichen Itza.
Yes, it is, yes.
Sort of like a steps pyramid.
In fact, actually, just get it right, it's 5, then 4.
That'd be 9.
Yeah, then 3 is 12. So
that's it?
No, I put 2 on the top.
That's 14.
No. I start with 4.
Oh, okay.
I do 4, a 3, a 2.
Right.
That's 7,
that's
9.
Yeah. And 1 is 10.
Another 2, which is 11. And then 1 on top.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I do it.
Well, you'd have to take a picture of it one day.
Yeah,
I'd like to see your
fish
finger Chichen Itza.
Yeah, what it does is it puts into your body the most useful gene that you can have for long life, which is called ANK3.
Okay.
ANK3 has been found to play a key in affecting longevity, okay?
Yeah.
Researchers believe genes have a link to Alzheimer's, raising the possibility that treatment of mood and stress disorders early in life might cut the risk of brain affliction, okay?
Mackerel's good as well, apparently.
Mackerel is very good.
Fish. Do you like smoked mackerel?
No, I don't, actually.
You don't have smoked mackerel?
No, I don't.
You never have that like as a starter in a restaurant, really?
No, if I have any fish starter, it's always smoked salmon. Yeah. That's oily, but that's very nice.
Yes.
Okay,
all right.
Now then, let me tell you something else very quickly.
Go on.
The report here is wrong. Men who are divorced, separated or widowed eat less healthily than those who are part of a couple. They drop one of their daily portions of fruit or vegetables after becoming single.
Yeah.
Says an analysis in social science and medicine based on doctors in Norfolk.
Yeah.
That's not true.
I think it probably is
I
true.
eat loads of apples and oranges and bananas.
Do you?
And strawberries.
You said to me the other night that you like banana chews better than bananas.
No, but I eat bananas and I eat them with...
How many bananas a week?
4.
4 bananas?
Yeah, and I eat them with rice.
Eh?
Rice.
What sort of rice?
Yoghurt rice.
Yoghurt rice?
Yeah, rice yoghurt.
Rice yoghurt?
Rice yoghurt with strawberry.
Do you mean strawberry like rice pudding?
No, strawberry rice yoghurt.
Strawberry rice yoghurt?
Yeah, you get it in plastic containers.
I've never heard of it.
No, it's beautiful.
Mandy Rice Davis, I've heard.
No, strawberry rice yogurt. With a banana.
With a banana.
Beautiful.
Oh, my God.
Honestly.
It's true, you do have a diet of a 15-year-old fat teenager.
No, I don't.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Music tells us that it is our listography, which
is
our homage to the New Day, which only lasted 9 weeks.
Unfortunately.
The newspaper, I think, of all time. The choice we have made is 3 most memorable sporting occasions, not necessarily that you've attended.
Yeah.
And that was sent in on Twitter by Rich. So do you want to go first on this one? Or should we go 1 and 1? And
let's go 1 and 1. Let's go 1 and 1.
Because I'm still kind of coming up with mine, really.
Well, I'll go first if you like.
All right, you go.
I'll go first.
You go first.
Okay. Now, first of all, what I want to say is I'm lucky enough during my career to have gone to almost every big sporting event in the world.
Yeah.
But the one I haven't been to is happening this weekend, the Monaco Grand Prix.
All right.
Now, that must be the most outstanding sporting event of life.
It must be very,
Funny
very
enough, funny enough, I've been there 3 days before it took place because we went to a football match when Chelsea were playing Monaco in the Champions League semi-final.
That building that looks like a car park.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Claudio Ranieri was called the Tinkerman that night, who's subsequently gone on to be the manager of the Premier League champions.
Yes.
But you could see the buzz going on around Casino Square and at the Paris Hotel and all the casinos were buzzing. So that was fantastic 3 days before. But I've never actually been to the race itself.
It would be a great one to do.
So that would be the one that I'd love to go to.
Yes.
The ones I have been to, and which are spectacular, are the open golf, without a shadow of a doubt, because where we did it from was a broadcasting studio 200 feet above.
I mean, one of those big cranes.
The 18th green.
Did you not get a bit of vertigo up there?
It wasn't crane, it was scaffolding built up, but it was very difficult to climb up it. Really, really high. Believe me, it was frightening, actually, when the wind was blowing and all that kind of stuff.
And where was this?
It was at Lytham St Anne's. Well, we did it 3 places. Lytham St Anne's. Yeah. We did it down on the coast in Kent. Yes. Sandwich, Royal Sandwich. Yeah. And we did it at Muirfield. I checked up last night. It was Muirfield, right?
Wasn't 2002, though, was it? Which was the year I was there, because I presume if you'd been there, I probably would have found you. But it wasn't the year that it got rained on.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No.
So probably before that.
A bit late, earlier or later.
Yeah.
So, and it's magnificent because it's a 4-day event, but the sense of special pride that the people who hold that event take in it is just enormous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, there's a Bollinger tent, and I have to admit that Mr. Brazil and I spent most of the day after the breakfast show in the Bollinger tent and met so many great people, you know what I mean? And the third one, which and this is a toss-up, one or the other, it's either the FA Cup final, to which I've been to 30, which is a magnificent event, I love Wembley, but maybe I've been to too many, because I'm going to plump for actually the world's greatest horse race, which is the Epsom Derby, which I'm going to a week on Saturday. Because I'm lucky enough to be in a box on the finishing line.
The Derby is terrific. It's a shame they moved it from the Wednesday, really, isn't it?
Well, do you know what? The funny thing is, when we were all execs at the Express, we were all given the day off on the Wednesday to go to the Derby. Myself, Craig, Jimmy, David Emery.
Well, I mean, half the office used to kind of decant down. I mean, I got sent down there a couple of times to cover it as a reporter.
Exactly,
But I never really did anything.
No,
because the Royal guy always did it.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, just make a couple of phone calls and that. But we'd go down and we'd actually have lunch first at one of the. It wasn't anything like sophisticated in those days as it is now. But we'd always find a pub on the edge of the course somewhere.
Yeah.
We'd ring up in advance. It's a Daily Express. Save us a room and all that.
Yeah.
And then we go into the course and just drink champagne all afternoon when I could drink champagne. And it was quite magnificent. It's even better now because Al and I are going with Corals. They've got a box on the finishing line. And it is a magnificent privilege to literally stand on the balcony and watch those horses start on the far end of the course. Because the way the Derby goes is they start on the far side of the course in what you call the country.
Yes.
And you see them go off and they gallop up a hill which goes up to the height of Nelson's Column as they come round the turn to Tattenham Corner and then come belting down the home straight to the finish line. It's the most magnificent sight in the world. And that's my third. So it's Monaco Grand Prix, it's the Open Golf, and it's the Epsom Derby.
Well, those are fantastic, actually. I mean, I mean, there's so many that I could say that because I haven't been to as many events as you have over the years. But I'm just going to stick with ones that I've actually been to because I mean, otherwise you could think. But the Monaco Grand Prix would definitely be somewhere I'd love to go. My first one is the 2000. It was actually when I first went to Scotland and they had the Champions League final at Hampden.
I went,
and you were probably there.
I went,
and it was the first Champions League final I'd ever been to.
It was Zinedine Zidane goal,
and
wasn't
it was that Zinedine Zidane goal where the ball seemed to hang in the air for like what seemed like a minute.
That's right.
Before it came down, and you just knew he was going to score it.
Exactly.
And it was just a fantastic occasion.
Yep.
Partly because I mean I was running the Scottish Mirror at the time, and we did the day before the Daily Record did it. We did a page, front page in Spanish and in German, welcoming all the fans coming, and it was a great because Glasgow's quite a small city.
Yes, of course it is.
And it was a fantastic atmosphere, and everything went really well. So that was great. My second one is going to be the Ryder Cup. I was invited to the Ryder Cup at the Belfry.
I went to that
was,
one.
2003.
Yeah,
I think.
I went to that one.
Yeah, and it was fantastic. I was invited for the last day, and the thing that was great about it was obviously it was people were. I can't remember who was hosting it, but you know it was all very lavish and champagne.
Absolutely.
And all that. But the thing that was great was that we got to play the course the next day.
Fantastic.
And it's the only time I've ever played a golf course right after a tournament. Yeah. And the difference in the way that the greens were cut, in the way that the fairway was cut.
Was it the year they banned your phones? I had to hand my phone in.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't remember that much about the actual Ryder Cup itself. What I do remember is watching the sort of the final of it all on a Sunday afternoon.
Sure.
But then playing the golf on the Monday.
Brilliant.
Which was absolutely great. And I think the final one for me is going to be another football match in Scotland, and it's Celtic-Liverpool in the UEFA Cup, where they played each other.
Yes.
And there was this fantastic moment. I was, in fact, our friend Ian from the Express came up for it.
Yes.
And another guy came up from London. I got a box.
Sorry, which Ian?
I'm not going to give his full name, but the guy that we're still in touch with. Your former colleague.
Yeah.
And he and another guy from the Express came up, and I had this little box at Parkhead.
Excellent.
And the moment when they sang "You'll Never Walk Alone" all together, well, it was just magical.
Yeah.
Absolutely magical.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
That was also the one where old El Hadj Diouf spat on a fan.
That's right, yeah.
It was a great game of football.
As he tumbled into the crowd,
Horrible.
Horrible,
it was a great game of football.
Yeah,
I think
brilliant.
Henrik Larsson scored a goal. I think.
He probably would have done in those days.
Yeah. So those are my three, which are slightly less international.
But still great sporting occasions nevertheless.
Yes.
I mean, the ones I didn't mention were, and I'm not boasting now, it's just happened in a long career, the World Cup final.
Yeah.
That I went to the World Cup final in
South Africa?
No, Berlin.
Oh, in Berlin,
I came home before the final South Africa. I was so disappointed with England. But it was in Berlin and that was the famous Zinedine Zidane headbutt, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. So you were there for that as well?
France, yeah. That's
well, there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in the Nou Camp watching Real Madrid and Barcelona play, which was only one of these pre-seasons, it was really like Charity Shield type game. Sure. But that was fantastic.
It was,
as well.
Yeah.
You
talk about horse races, the Epsom Derby, but equally as magnificent and perhaps, I don't know, even more, but it's a couple of years now since I went to one. Only about 3 years. Grand National in Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a magnificent day.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really is.
I must say, I mean, you and I have been to Cheltenham a couple of times.
Yes.
And I mean, any horse racing sort of event for me
Cheltenham
is
Gold
fantastic.
Cup, absolutely fantastic. Totally agree.
Yeah.
And also, remember like a Champions League final you talked about in Scotland. I went to the one in Moscow when United played Chelsea. Yeah, exactly. And
that was still McDonald's trip. When you were, front of the queue for the opening of McDonald's.
No, it wasn't. No, that was a different one altogether. That was about 5-6 years earlier.
Okay.
And, no, it was a lot earlier, about 10 years earlier, I think, with Peter Hitchens. So, sporting occasions just... Now, funny, I thought you might have mentioned one in America, so I thought you might have mentioned going to the Yankee Stadium or something like that.
Well, I thought of that, and I mean, I went to a lot of games, but, the World Series that the Mets won was a fantastic sort of week. And, I remember going to a Billy Joel concert at Madison Square Garden, and New York was so kind of encapsulated by the Mets that he was reading out, in between songs, he was reading out the scores of like Game 5 or something that was going on.
Sure.
And the final game, when they ended up winning it, against, I think it was against the Boston Red Sox, where that guy, Bill Buckner, let the ball through his legs.
Right.
And they just went running round and they won the World Series. I was actually standing outside a bar because I couldn't get in, watching it on a TV screen.
Sure.
Everyone was going mad.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have been at one of those games, but I only ever went to baseball games that weren't particularly important.
Yeah, sure. Talking about Madison Square Garden, I saw a Marvin Hagler fight there.
Yes.
And I covered fights in America down at Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Remember seeing Tony Simpson get beaten up by Donald Lee.
Yeah. I did Barry McGuigan losing his fight down in Vegas. In the car park of Caesar's Palace.
I did Vegas when our northern boy, the lovely boy,
Ron.
No, kept getting fat and then going slim again. When he got knocked out in.
Oh, you mean Hatton?
Yes, Ricky Hatton. I saw him get knocked, and this was only a few years ago. Got knocked out at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. But I've never seen a world heavyweight fight.
No.
I've been to fights at various weights, middleweight mostly. Yeah. Marvin Hagler, but I've never seen a world heavyweight.
Hagler, the middleweights at that time.
Incredible.
And Tommy Hearns and those guys.
Incredible.
When I saw the Hagler-Hearns fight on closed circuit TV inside Madison Square Garden, but I think the fight was in Vegas.
And who was No Mas?
Roberto Duran. Hands of Stone.
Oh, unbelievable.
Well, he was on the undercard of Barry McGuigan's fight.
Oh, was he?
And amazing. That was quite horrendous because it was the first boxing match I'd ever really been to.
Sure.
It was very hot.
Yeah.
And the guy he was fighting, he managed to knock his gum shield out.
Incredible.
And in the next sort of 5 or 7 sort of seconds, all this blood was just splattering all over the people in the front 7 rows.
Oh, it does happen. It happened to me in the Donald Lee fight. And, of course, at all these massive sporting events, the one constant factor, there are loads of beautiful women there.
That's true.
They're all dressed up beautifully.
Yeah.
They're all presented beautifully. They've all had a glass of champagne.
Yeah.
They've all got an eye for an opportunity.
So you're going to say this is a rich hunting ground?
I would say it's rich potential Rogerisation territory.
Yes,
That's what I'd say.
You're right.
Yeah,
I can't deny that.
It is.
I can't deny
They
that.
dress up beautifully, women at sporting events.
Fortunately, we're out of time, so we can't elaborate on that particular one. This is Talk Sport. Porky Vision coming up.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
Lots of great tweets to read out, which we will have to get to later, because now is the time to hear the great TV review of the week, which is, of course, Porky Vision. What do you got for us, Mr. Parry?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be quite serious on Porky Vision tonight, right? First of all, an update on Peaky Blinders, because I've been asked for it. You know, I've been getting all the messages. What's happened to Peaky Blinders? Is it mass Rogerisation, all that?
Yeah.
It's not, actually.
A lot of murders.
And gruesome as well. I mean, really gruesome.
Yeah.
I mean, so what happens is old Tommy Shelby organises, you know, he's now become like a respectable crook, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, sort of Al Capone.
So he's crossed the aisle, as it were.
He throws charity balls and all this kind of stuff. Charity ball at the town hall in the middle of Birmingham. And what happens? The Irish mob, we think it's the Irish mob anyway. No, it's the Italians, I'm sorry. It's the Italians, the Italian mob. Get a man in there who's a hitman.
Job.
Who takes out the gun and wants to kill Tommy Shelby because some deal's gone wrong, and he misses Tommy Shelby and shoots his wife dead.
No,
so
he shoots Tommy's wife dead.
Tommy's wife dead. Yeah.
That's not going to end well, is it?
So that's not going to go well.
No.
So anyway, as that episode ends, all you can see are loads of Tommy's gang literally stamping the attacker to death.
Ooh.
I mean, that's all you can see. You know, bang, bang, bang.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, when I watched it, and I said I've only watched that one episode with the sound down, it looked terribly brutal.
It is very brutal. So anyway, so the opening of the next episode, right? Obviously, Tommy's in mourning and all this kind of stuff, but bent on revenge.
Yeah.
So remember, communications are not that good as they are today.
Right.
But they suddenly, you see, the guy who...
And is he still in the same area? Still in sort of Birmingham?
Well, he is, but he's moved to a huge mansion house in Warwickshire, where all his family live and all that kind of stuff. He's made tremendous amounts of money and all. They've even got a vault there with cash in it. I mean, like millions of pounds worth of cash.
Okay.
They don't trust banks because people like them go and rob them.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, Tommy's got to track down the leader of the gang, and he's trying to flee to America.
Right.
The Italian guy, because he realises that if they've shot Shelby, that's all's fair in love and war.
Yeah.
Shoot his wife, it's not good.
Yeah.
So this guy's actually in the queue to get on a Cunard ship to America when he's asked by a policeman to come forward, a policeman in Liverpool, and it shows you the extent to which the tentacles of the Shelby Empire, they now have controlling officers in all the police forces around the country, and they've got the cops to single this guy out, take him away to an investigation room, and then hand him over to the Shelbys.
Right.
This guy is then taken back to Tommy's lair, this mansion, and his fate is indescribable.
And he knows exactly what's going to happen.
He knows what's going to happen. He knows he's going to get it.
He's prepared.
And he's stripped naked to the waist, tied to a chair.
Yeah.
And this is at 10 o'clock at night, and there's just that single light bulb in the cellar where they're going to torture him to death.
Yeah.
And Tommy comes in and says, I'm not going to deliver the last cut until the first blackbird sings in the morning.
Ooh.
He says, that's going to be about 7.5 hours for you.
Right.
And then a guy comes up and presents him with a box of knives.
Oh.
And he says to this guy, because this guy is literally terrified, shaking and praying, and he says, open your eyes, or I'll cut your eyelids off. And the guy opens it, he says, that's only the first thing I'm cutting off.
God.
He says, I'm taking your tongue out first, he says, because... You know, I don't want to hear what you've got to say and your excuse for killing my wife. He says, I'm taking every one of your toes off and every one of your fingers. He said, I'm taking your ears off, I'm taking your nose off. He said, and I'll set fire to your eyeballs.
Oh, God.
And this guy, I mean...
I don't think I could watch anything that horrendous.
Well, can you imagine the state of fear you'd be in if somebody told you they're going to do all that to you over the next 7 hours? Not pleasant at all. And... and he says he's going to cut his genitals off as well.
Right.
And going to cut them off in such a way that he'll be able to fry him in a pan in front of him and he'll still be alive, you know what I mean? Anyway, so...
That's horrendous.
Well,
that's just awful, isn't it?
Oh, he's got to pull all his teeth out as well, by the way. You know, pull his teeth out one by one.
What about his nails? He's going to do that?
Well, I didn't say anything about the nails. He said he was going to chop his fingers off, actually. So, you know, but he's going to take his fingers off with one of these big wire bolt cutters, you know. So, yeah.
It's made me feel quite unwell.
Well, I agree. And then I think, actually, it must have been just too horrendously violent, even for gangsters, because Tommy's brother then pulls a gun out of his belt and says, Tommy, let's just do it, bang, and shoots the guy through the head.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, so they just want him to feel the fear?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, I think so, yeah. And
goodness for that.
Yeah, exactly, and then Tommy slopes off, right? So...
But what about the guy that they sort of kicked to death at the scene?
Well,
was that somebody else?
No, he was the assassin. He was just the assassin.
Oh, I see.
He was
the guy that ordered it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, the guy who ordered it was the man they had in the chair.
No,
he was the head of the Italian gang who was trying to flee to America because he knew that the Peaky Blinders were coming after him. But anyway...
So is this tit for tat going to go on forever now, then?
Probably.
They've now killed the Italian.
But within all this is a plot that Tommy Shelby has got an order from the British government, headed up by Winston Churchill, who was then sort of, I think, Secretary of the Board of Trade, to arm the White Army in Russia. You know, the revolution's happening in Russia, it's the Reds and the Whites.
Yes.
Britain want to arm...
So he wanted to help out the Tsar.
Exactly, absolutely. And so Tommy Shelby has been commissioned by the British government to ship over arms and armoured cars and all this kind of stuff.
Okay.
But somebody in the organisation is leaking information, and he has to find out who it is. And they track down an accountant who's dealing with a particular organisation. And again, and this is in Birmingham, they get the police to arrest the guy and put him in a police cell. And the greatest line in the Peaky Blinders series so far, and there have been 3 episodes, Tommy Shelby goes in himself, and this guy's a very respectable lawyer, and Tommy Shelby says, you'll spend the next 14 years in a room like this, you know, because the police who arrested you found drugs on you, because the police had planted the drugs on the guy. And he said, why are you doing this to me? And he said, you know, dealing drugs in this day and age in Birmingham, you know, you'll be in Winson Green, he says, and your cell will be about this size. You'll do 14 years, you'll never get out. And why are you doing this to me? He says, I need information. And this guy says, well, what about? And he said, this deal you're doing, you don't know it, but you're actually dealing in arms. You know, you're a respectable lawyer, but they fooled you. He said, oh. So Tommy Shelby says to him, so I want the name, please, of the person who you're dealing with. It's a confidential file locked in your safe. We know that. What's the name of the person? And this guy says, I don't know who you are, but you don't understand. These people are extremely dangerous. And Tommy Shelby says, yes, unfortunately, so are we.
Yeah.
And the guy then realises, so he coughs up the name, and they go after the guys, yeah?
Okay.
So it's brilliant stuff, right? Okay.
It's certainly, you had me on the edge of my seat just listening to your version of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I should really watch it.
Oh, it's brilliant. But anyway, listen, well, time is here. Now, I'm going to talk now about a colleague of ours, Adrian Durham, okay?
Yes.
Now, I watched this show, which has been, you know, flagged a lot. It's called A League of Their Own.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about a football team.
Yes.
And
he's got a sort of cameo role in it, hasn't he?
Do you know, Adrian's bit in it is the best of it.
Is it?
And then it goes rapidly downhill.
Really?
Let me tell you that.
And Sue Johnson's in it as well, right?
Sue Johnson's in it. I'll tell you what it is. Sue Johnson's in it, and so is the guy called Craig Cash. Now, Craig Cash is and was the writing partner of Mrs. Merton, Caroline Aherne, right? And this is just like a football version of the royal family.
Yeah.
And the first one that, you know, when Craig Cash was the daughter of Mrs. Merton, it was called Mrs. Merton, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just Mrs. Merton.
Yeah, and it was a series. And, you know, I always worried that it always, to me, featured people who, how can I say this, looked as though they had mental health issues.
Yeah.
They did. They looked as though they were so slow of learning and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I thought the whole thing was mocking people with learning difficulties, to put it that way.
Right.
Well, this is exactly the same. This is like a football version of the royal family.
Yeah, well, I read Adrian Durham's piece about it on the TalkSport website. Where he talks about this guy who's kind of, you know, obsessed with his team, who never do anything very well, and they're down in the lower leagues, and they never really move out.
That's right.
And he's just, and he has this look on his face whenever anything good happens.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. But what happens is it starts with this guy standing in the middle of their field, their playing field, and he's actually on his mobile phone. He's rung into Adrian's show, and Adrian's had a go at him because the guy's.
So is he sitting in here then? Is that the idea? Is he?
Well, you don't see where Adrian is. You just hear his voice.
Oh, okay.
You just hear his voice.
So he's
over
not
the
actually
phone.
on the. He's not. You don't see him at all.
Don't see his face, no, which is perhaps a very good thing.
That was probably the best decision they made.
Exactly. But you hear his voice.
Keep him out.
And this guy's, phoning on the phone shows, making silly points. Adrian's saying, "Oh, you're a moron," and all this kind of stuff. It's very good.
Right.
But that's the highlight of the show.
Yeah,
After that, it goes downhill. Do you know why?
Why?
There's one joke, Mike, and the one joke is this is a rundown football club with a load of multi-obsessed fans who see, FA Cup glory in the fact that they've got a new logo on their packets of crisps and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the joke expires after about 5 minutes.
Right. And it's a series, right?
It's a series of 6.
Yeah.
And everything's about, oh, look, here's the club shop, and it's got 2 key rings in it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, here's the club changing rooms. It's got 1 tap for 24 players.
Yeah.
Oh, look, here's the club bar.
Yeah, so once you've seen it once, that's it.
The joke just never changes.
Yeah.
The joke is we're run down, but again, all the characters are made out to be people who've got learning difficulties.
Yeah, right.
They're all morons,
Yeah.
honestly. They're all portrayed as morons.
Yeah.
Some guy comes in and starts singing, we're on our way to Wembley, we shall not be... But instead of letting him sing it for 10 seconds, he sings it for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's one little joke which is stretched out.
Yes.
And stretched out and stretched out.
And how long is each show? Is it like 45 minutes?
34 minutes.
Oh, okay.
34 minutes.
That's
I timed
quite a long
it.
time.
Right. And I'm afraid I couldn't... I switched off at half-time in the first one.
Yeah.
I thought, this joke's just going to go on and on. Sue Johnson is the fussy, sort of barmaid in the
she's not like
club
the
shop.
chairwoman or anything
No. She's running the club bar.
right.
And there's another dimwit barmaid there, in the club bar, bring a bit of glamour to it and all that. But the men are repulsive people who are just either thick, who use lavatorial language.
Right, which you don't like.
Which I don't like anyway. It looks all so mucky and run down and hopeless and people, people in, I don't know, just look as though they come from terribly poor homes and all that. And it just completely turned me off. As I say, the only good thing about it, I thought, was the opener in which Adrian was marvellous.
Yeah.
He sounded... combative.
Maybe I should send the Peaky Blinders in there and start slaughtering
exactly.
a few people.
Good idea.
Excellent.
Good idea.
That was Porky Vision. There'll be
Indeed.
more at the same time next week. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the 2 mics. We're almost at the end of another show, incredibly. Tomorrow night, Porky quiz on Rolls-Royce. You've upset a few people, I'm afraid, already. Becky says this from New Zealand.
Yes.
A week behind on Peaky Blinders. Porky Vision has ruined Monday's episode. Now I know Tommy's wife's been shot.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, Becky. But, I mean, what we should do is, I think, in future, when I do the Porky Vision, is say to people, if you don't wish to know what's happening, put your earplugs in now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, we don't want people not to listen, though, do we?
No. Well, you don't want to listen, but, I mean, they can still listen and not hear, if you say
And
what
I mean, I have some sympathy with your inability to predict when people are going to watch in different countries of the world.
Exactly.
Unless you have a sort of schedule in front of you.
Yeah.
Here's one from Jeff, who says, Peaky's is brilliant. Watch from the first episode and you'll be hooked. Another one to catch up on. Line of Duty.
Yeah.
Even my old lady was shouting at the TV.
Really?
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't watched that. Sarah in Maidenhead says, I'm concerned about Porky. He reminds us often about his 33 and a third percent heart function, but eating 4 bananas a week and onions, tomatoes, etc., his potassium could well be too high for his heart.
No,
that's potassium not good for healthy hearts.
No, it's okay.
Take
believe
care,
me.
Porky. You keep making me laugh with your banter.
No, I'm a serious broadcaster. You're not supposed to laugh. You're supposed to take it in and deeply think about the things I say.
Right.
By the way, talking about things I say, right. Now, I saw this report, Mike. 34 million pictures of drivers taken every day in this country from spy cameras.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's far too many cameras, to be honest.
Well, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Now, look, what
you
I
don't mind. Well, you minded the camera that took a picture of your car outside Waterloo Station.
I mind speed cameras because I think that they're trying to trap motorists and take money out of them.
Take money from them. Yeah.
I very much object to parking cameras. They're totally undemocratic.
Of which there are more and more.
More and more. What's the problem of having 2 of your wheels in a bus stop bay when there's no bus around because it's the middle of the night?
True.
But what I don't object to, these are observation cameras. A police network of thousands of Big Brother spy cameras take photos of about 34 million cars. Right, each day.
Yeah, but why are they doing it?
Around 9,000 surveillance cameras fitted with automatic number plate recognition technology have been placed along Britain's roads. But you will find, this is why I don't really object to it, a fleeing criminal has less chance of escaping in this country than almost anywhere else in the world because of this.
Except that we're not any better at catching them than anybody else is, though. Because, I mean, for example, I saw when I was driving back from Cardiff just the other week, we came in on Westway on the A40.
Yeah.
Came off at Paddington to sort of go around the back of Edgware Road. And there was a car in front of us at the traffic lights with no back number plate.
Right.
Now, clearly this was a car that was either stolen or didn't have any insurance.
Or just a wreck or something.
Yeah, but this is the trouble. I mean, people drive around, if they're of a criminal nature, they're likely to drive around with a fake number plate or with no number plate.
Yeah, probably.
Now, if you're lucky enough to pull them over, fine. But I mean, I don't think it has that much of an effect, to be honest.
Well, in things
I think
like
the police should be out more.
You know, there are road rage incidents, there are hit and run incidents, there are even incidents where somebody sideswipes a car but doesn't bother to stop or something like that.
Well, do you remember the Kenneth Noy story? You know, Kenneth Noy in the M25 and all that, and they had sort of CCTV, but it didn't actually help them find out what had happened, really, did it?
It did. It identified Kenneth Noy.
Well, it identified somebody doing something, but it wasn't something they could use in court, though, I don't think.
Well, they got him eventually. They brought him back to this country from Spain, and he's still in jail.
Yeah. Was he not in Cyprus?
No, he was in Mallorca.
He was in Mallorca.
They arrested him.
But I just think that they're not fail safe, is what I'm saying.
Well, the only thing I would say, and I always say this, and I say this about identity cards and all that, if you haven't done anything wrong, I don't believe you've got anything to fear in this country from being under surveillance.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
So if by having these cameras, we have a constant record of people moving around this country, and it helps eradicate crime, I haven't got a problem with it.
Well, yeah,
I really haven't.
As long as that's what it's being used for.
Well, what else can it be used for?
Well, because, I mean, the thing about information is that information gets sold.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the DVLA now sells your information to various organisations that might wish to have it. Well, information about what kind of car you have.
So what?
Information about, what other cars you've had in the past.
Yeah, but
well, it's your.
It doesn't bother me.
Well, it may not bother you, but it's somebody else is profiting from getting information
it says
about
here,
you.
Look, it says here, Privacy Campaign has argued that the system allowing the access to 22 billion records, right, held for up to 2 years, is intrusive and heightens fears of an Orwellian surveillance state.
Well, I think there's some truth to that.
Well, I don't know what the people are frightened about. You know, the information about my car is available from several different sources. I even managed to, send out a picture on tweet with my registration number on it because I was so
Well, I mean,
fed
your
up
car
about...
now, because your car is now so sort of electronically put together and run by all sorts of computers, it's got GPS systems all over it. Basically every place you go can be tracked.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you may say you don't mind about that.
No, I don't.
But there might be a point at which you would rather not be tracked for one reason or another.
I've got nothing to hide, that's all I'm saying.
What would happen, for example, if you were involved in some rogerisation with somebody who was married?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And she happened to be married to a police officer. And the police officer somehow decided to track your car movements because he had an inkling that it might be you. And then suddenly you're in a whole pile of, doo-doo.
Well, I can tell you now, I can tell you for sure, I would never get involved with a woman who's married to a police officer.
Well, that's not true, is it?
And do you know why?
Because you got involved with that woman from whose husband was in the RUC.
No, he wasn't. He was in the prison service of Northern Ireland, and he was dead anyway because he got murdered by the IRA. So
I thought he was in the RUC.
No, he wasn't. He was in the prison service of Northern Ireland.
All right, well, yeah, but you might not know those, what I'm saying.
But listen, I'll tell you something.
Say, for example, a guy comes home, sees your car outside his house. You don't know he's a police officer because he hasn't told you.
Yeah.
He then decides to track your car. He can track every single move that your car has made since you've owned it.
There's an element of corruption there anyway, so that should be
but that's why
there's
some people think the police shouldn't have as many powers because they don't use them properly.
I tell you what, I mean, the police themselves, their Rogerisation policy...
Oh, I know.
What about Northumberland? What's going on there?
They're all at it.
The allegation is that the chief constable has been having an illicit relationship with an assistant chief constable.
Right.
The allegation is also that another senior officer...
Is this the case that's been going on for a while?
Yeah.
Where the guy walked in on them?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And another senior officer was Rogerising a personal assistant in the same building, that they're all driving around in sort of, quote, company cars supplied by the police force. Right. It's an outrage.
Well, we mentioned the other day about the Lincolnshire Police Force who decided to, get their friends to call in.
That's right.
To bump up the
Unbelievable.
numbers. I mean, I'm not sure I'm comfortable having these people with all this information that they can either sell or they can use for nefarious purposes.
Do you know, a mate of mine was having an affair with a policeman's wife. Right.
Yeah.
And he was quite a senior policeman. I think he was an inspector. Uh-huh. And
don't give his name out.
No, I'm not going to. Don't worry. Oh no, a million miles away. This it's right on the other side of the country anyway.
Okay.
Don't
tell us where.
No, I won't. But it's kind of northwestish.
Okay.
A bit
well,
lower
near
down.
Manchester.
No, sort of North Wales-ish sort of thing.
Oh, right. Okay.
And anyway, he was having a fling with this woman, and the amazing thing was, it was with the husband's blessing.
Oh, yeah.
Because 2-3 years after they got married and they still hadn't had children, he revealed he was gay.
Really?
The policeman.
Okay.
So he didn't mind.
What did he get married for?
Well, I think in those days, this is going back 20 years.
okay.
You know, you still wanted to cover up your, your sexuality and that kind of stuff, because it still wasn't a very good idea in those days to be honest to yourself or to society.
No, indeed.
Unfortunately,
Scott says this: Porkyvision should include billions. Involves more of the best likes, more of his best likes. Massive wealth, power, Chicago, and an English actor.
What's that called?
Billions. It's on Sky. I think it's Sky Atlantic. It's the new Damien Lewis show.
Ah, that's right. Yeah. Now the problem is, there's so many new shows on Sky Atlantic, Sky Drama, and all that. I can't keep up with them.
You can't. No.
I wanted to watch that one actually.
Yeah.
In fact, I might plug into it. What night is it on?
You get the box set.
Does it say what night it's on?
I don't know. It's probably on several times.
I think
on Sky Atlantic.
I think the first one's only just happened. Let me have a look
I think it started last week, but if you
my
you can watch,
manual, hang on.
Well, hang on.
Excuse
but
me.
you know you can watch it all like in one go.
Can you?
Yeah.
Right, how do you do that?
It's a box set, so you can just
box
watch one after the other.
Box set. What is it? Sky Atlantic. Here we go.
But they keep advertising it.
And
they keep saying you can download the whole thing and watch the whole thing.
I might do that.
You need to get a smart TV. That's what you need to get.
I've got a smart TV. I just don't have to work it. Don't worry about that.
It's just the operator that's not smart.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah, billions. Right, found it. Thursday night.
Yeah.
Is that tonight?
It's tonight.
That's tonight?
Yeah, so you do it tonight.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, you can do it for next week.
Third episode out of 12. I'm going to watch it.
All right.
Yep.
No, there we are. That'll be Porky Vision for next week. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
TalkSport's teamed up with Mars #Believe to get behind the England team this summer. To show your support, they want you to create singing selfies of you belting out the We Love You England chant. Mars will then use your selfies to cheer on the England team.
That's right. Now, we here at TalkSport have challenged the Moose to create his own We Love You England selfies in different styles, and we've even given him a few singing lessons to make sure he's pitch perfect. Now, this week his challenge is to learn the chant in the style of jazz.
Listen to Drive this afternoon from 4 p.m. to see how Moose's singing lesson went. And to show your passion for the Three Lions, create your own We Love You England singing selfie video and upload it to Twitter using the #Believe. And for full terms and conditions, please see marsbar.co.uk/sing your support. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later. So tomorrow, or later on tonight, I suppose we'll see each other. It's the Porky quiz on Rolls-Royce.
Rolls-Royce, that's right, yeah.
Here's one from Bal, who says you should do a poll on who does the worst reviews, Porky or the man with no name.
What?
That's a bit harsh.
Who's the man with no name?
The man with no name who's occasionally reviews restaurants. You know the man
Oh,
with no name.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
William, on the other hand, says, who needs a TV or radio guide when we get brilliant reviews from Porky?
Thank you.
And Aaron says that it's not called League of Their Own, Porky, it's called Rovers.
No, it's not. It's called League of Their Own.
Well, it's called Rovers.
No, I thought it was called Rovers, and I've gone and looked it up, and it's about a team called Rovers.
Yeah.
But it's a League of Their Own, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Hang on. What I was on was right. Okay, we'll keep talking.
Yeah.
Because what I was going to say to you was, do you know what I was going to say to you?
What?
I was going to say to you, I can see a civil war situation breaking out in France.
Really?
That's what I can see.
What?
The French like a dust-up. They like a bit of a
talking
punch-up.
about Rovers, the fictional
Yeah,
account of a lower league football club.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Starring Adrian Durham.
Yeah, right, here we
That's
go.
a man with no face.
Oh, yeah, it is called Rovers. Hang on, let me have a look here, won't it?
A League of Their Own is that Charlie Sheen movie, isn't it? About baseball.
Oh, I see. What they've said, it's called Rovers, but it says it's in a league of its own. Because the club is in a league of its own.
Right.
You see what I mean? So that's rather misleading.
Well, there's nobody else in the league.
Well, I don't know. Anyway, it's rather misleading. I don't know why they call it League of Their Own. But anyway, it is Rovers, yeah. Rovers,
Jason
Rovers.
also says it is called Rovers, not League of Their Own. Porky gets it wrong again.
Yeah, right, well, don't worry.
Shocking.
No, I didn't get it wrong.
Scott says this, Porky has given a great image of the newspaper industry, Rogerisation on desk, sexism and a lot of death. That's pretty much what it was like, really.
That's about it, yeah, I'm afraid.
You know, now, I don't know whether we mentioned this. I think we mentioned it en passant yesterday, but without any real conviction. We are doing the warm-up on Sunday for the next 4 weeks.
Yes, we are. Now, what time's that start?
I think it starts at 11 o'clock.
And it's usually till 1, but on this Sunday it's till 2.
I believe it's 3 hours this Sunday, yes.
It's till 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And remember...
So there'll be more of the Two Mics and more of podcasts of the Two Mics and all that sort of thing.
Indeed. It's a bank holiday
And I'll have to
weekend.
drag myself away from my family and break my rule, which is to not work on a Sunday.
Well, I'm afraid afraid you're going to have to, mate. You
Yeah.
know, if you want to make it in life, you've just got to make sacrifices. Now, I'm expected in Bournemouth this weekend because it's bank holiday.
Oh, are you?
Well,
you can't go to Bournemouth, can you?
Yeah, I am. I'm coming back for that, and then I'm going back again.
Oh, when are you going to Bournemouth? What, Friday then?
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yes.
So you're going to go down Saturday, come back Sunday?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Blimey.
Well, I mean,
I don't know why I say blimey.
Yeah.
I went to New York last weekend.
Exactly, yeah, of course.
But at
you
least I stayed there for 2 nights.
Yeah, but how long does it take you to get up from Sussex to come to the show and then go home again?
I would say it's about an hour and a half each way.
Well, it'll take me 2 hours each way,
Yeah.
so we're doing about the same.
But that's,
sort of thing.
that of course is as long as the Blackwall Tunnel doesn't get closed down.
Well, exactly,
again.
yeah.
So we just have to see how that
Sure,
all goes.
sure.
But I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes, excellent.
We'll
No,
be
so
back
am I
in,
as well.
Back in daylight.
I mean, one of the things I can tell you, audience, is I will be giving a Sunday sermon within the show.
Yes. In your own words rather than Padre Parry.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Padre Parry's not been seen for some time.
No, well, he might make a return. You never know.
A secure unit somewhere.
You never know.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Look at the light! Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
Opening the doors for artists such as Eminem, right?
Who?
Yeah, Eminem.
Eminem.
Was it? Who was it? Eminem. And they sold. Oh, sorry, what's your problem?
It's okay, carry on.
It's Eminem.
It's Eminem.
No, Eminem is a sweet.
And that's an M and M.
Yeah, this is Eminem.
Eminem.
Anyway, they sold.
Eminem.
They sold. Honestly, you're stupid. I'm leaning on my lamppost on the corner of the street to watch a certain little lady go by.
It's not bad.
Oh, me.
That's good.
Oh, my.
That's enough.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1 a.m. on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Free love, man. Let's all have free love, you know?